At Wrigley Field in Chicago, the New York Mets play the Chicago Cubs in the back end of a day-night doubleheader. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi. For each home run at Citi Field, Citi will donate $2,000 to No Kid Hungry. By Spectrum, switch and save with Spectrum Mobile, nationwide 5G included. Restrictions apply. Visit SpectrumMobile.com. By Geico, switch today to see all the ways you could save. And by Toyota, the summer starts here at Toyota. Toyota, let's go places. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Chicago. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets go for a sweep of the day-night doubleheader over the Cubs. The Mets won in 11 innings this afternoon, 2-1. Not a lot of hitting, but some very important defensive plays in the game.
Well, the Mets turned some double plays early in the game to keep the Cubs off the board, but it really was the play late in the game by Escobar with the pick to his left. 2 outs needed. Ottavino struck out 2, got this ground ball, kind of crawled into position to make the throw, and J.D. Davis, who hasn't played a lot of first base, comes up with the pick of the year.
J.D. told Steve Gelbs after the game, as the ball was traveling toward him, he tried to remember all the instructions he got about how to pick those balls, and it worked out for him.
You know, what's hilarious is that, you know, when you're having a magical year, certain things happen that you have no real explanation for, and that play today was one of them.
So the Mets go for their 4th straight win tonight. They'll have Max Scherzer on the mound, his 3rd start off the injured list, and he has never been better than he's been these last 2.
Only Max could come off an oblique injury and be better than he was before. 13 innings pitched, no walks, 20 strikeouts, a no decision, and a win in his last start to set the tone in Atlanta.
Interestingly enough, his former Tigers teammate Drew Smyly is also coming off an oblique injury, his 2nd start back.
Well, he didn't have as much luck in his first start, 4 runs and 2 innings pitched. Just interesting that in his starts, the last 8, the Cubbies are only 1-7.
So the Mets trying to make it 3 straight over the Cubs and 4 straight overall. 23 games over 500 now as they begin play tonight. Mets and Cubs coming up on SNY. SNY is brought to you by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. There's no better time to be in a Cadillac than summer. Visit your Tri-State Cadillac dealer today. By the New York Lottery, get out there and play. And by Dunkin', in the heat of the moment, keep it cool with an ice cold cold brew. Now $3 for a medium. New York runs on Dunkin'. First 25,000 fans in attendance when the Mets take on the Padres next Saturday, July 23rd. Will receive a David Wright Captain America tribute Funko Pop collectible. For tickets, go to Mets.com/tickets. That's Funko Pop. Don't forget it. It's time for your fan choice poll brought to you by Dunkin'. So among the Mets who did not get selected for the All-Star game, whom do you believe is the biggest snub? Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo, Taijuan Walker, or is there somebody else who you feel should have been honored in that fashion?
This is going to be a runaway. Complete runaway.
What do you think?
I'm not going to tell you, but I'm just telling you it's going to be a runaway.
All right, you need to write down who you think it's going to be.
Great.
And I'm going to write down who I think it's going to be.
All right, and I'll show you the card later.
Okay, I'm writing it down right here. I'm covering it up with my hand.
Yeah, I don't want you. Don't show it.
I'm not going to show you. You're not going to show me.
All right, get back to the item.
We'll compare notes later. Meanwhile, vote early and often. Mets and Cubs first pitch coming right up. Remember that? Utter domination. Mets were 0-7 during the regular season against the Cubs, and they swept them 4 straight in the League Championship Series in 2015. Next year belonged to the Cubs.
It did.
Geico starting lineup for the nightcap. J.D. Davis, after his game-saving play in the first game, gets to DH in the second game. Starling Marte and Marcana both out of the lineup in the first game, both in there for the second, as is Tomas Nido. Jeff McNeil dropped to 8th against the left-hander. You know, he'll be the starting second baseman for the National League All-Star team.
I
And he gets to play second base in this game.
Against Drew Smiley, University of Arkansas. He's played with a lot of big league clubs: Detroit, Tampa Bay, Texas, Philadelphia, San Francisco, and last year he was a member of the world champions, the Atlanta Braves.
He even pitched in 2 games in the World Series. Who remembers that?
That's right. I mean, the Braves did it all. They used an opener. They started a guy who had never started a game.
Nimmo getting a selfie. He does it all.
The defense for the Cubs brought to you by Volkswagen. The Cubs starting infield, Gomes gets to start behind the plate. Contreras is on the bench. David Bodie gets to start at second base. Nico Horner ended his 7-game hitting streak. Happ, Ortega, Suzuki, same outfield out there.
You think they'll keep their infielders in some manner of their actual positions in this game?
I hope so, just for our case. We didn't have it right all game.
Brandon Nimmo, 3 hits in the opening game of the series, 0 for 4 earlier today, and he takes the first pitch for a strike from Drew Smiley, and we're underway. Nimmo hitting .259 against lefties. Mets as a team have struggled against left-handers for most of the year, 20 points lower than against righties. And Nimmo takes below the knees 1-1. Drew Smiley's second start back from the injured list, missed 6 weeks with an oblique injury, very similar to the injury that Max Scherzer suffered. Smiley's first start back came against the Dodgers last Sunday. He gave up 4 runs in 2 innings through 56 pitches in the 2 innings, and so it was a brief outing. Should be good to go for about 75 pitches today in his second start back. 1-2 coming to Nimmo, and he slashes one foul. Smiley has kind of changed the way he pitches this year. He's always been a 4-seam guy, but he's really changed his fastball.
Well, he's lost some of the velocity, and we've seen pitchers around the league now going back to their 2-seamers. It seems to be effective again.
So he'll throw sinkers and cutters and curveballs. And he threw the sinker right by Brandon Nimmo for the first out of the night.
Well, that's its pitch usage right there. The knuckle curve, cutter, sinker, changeup. I very rarely, and it shows it there, see a changeup from Drew Smiley. He goes after you with pretty much his hard stuff. 48 and 44 in his career. This Taiwan, 6 stellar innings in game 1.
Mets continue to get great starting pitching in the month of July. Walker kept that going earlier today. You're starting Marte, who didn't play in the first game after going 2 for 5 Thursday night. His first game back from 4 games on the sideline with groin inflammation, and he's been the Mets' best hitter against lefties all year, hitting .337 against southpaws, and quickly ahead in the count 2-0. Marte at the plate, Lindor on deck. Mets trying to sweep a doubleheader in Chicago. They have swept their last 3 doubleheaders in Chicago. Popped up foul off the right side. That'll blow out a play. The wind's blowing in from left field, so anything hit to the right side is going to work its way toward the line. Yeah, the last 3 doubleheaders the Mets have played here, they've swept. That dates back to 1986. 86, 90, and 98 were the last 3 doubleheaders here. However, the Mets have not won a series at Wrigley Field since 2013, which they can clinch with a win tonight. That's a regular season series.
That's right.
You understand. Swing and a miss. 2-2 to Marte. Two coming to Marte, and he misses high, full count.
Now, no lights or games at night here until 1988, but in '86, the Mets and Cubs were able to fit in a doubleheader before it got dark.
Sure, why not? Started noon in the summertime,
Yep.
2-hour and 20-minute games back then. Marte fouls off the curveball, and it's 3-2. And perhaps we'll be back to some semblance of that next year when the pitch clock makes its way into the game. They say they've shaved 28 minutes per game off the contests in the minor leagues that have been played with the pitch clock.
Considering my content in game one, I need about 28 minutes shaved off that game.
Well, that was a long game.
Oh, man.
Swing and a miss, and Marte chasing a high fastball, and Smiley's got back-to-back strikeouts to start the night. There was not much offense in the first game today. The Mets had 4 hits in 11 innings, and the Cubs had 5. And Smiley off to a hot start, fanning the first 2 in this game.
Smiley's always had a big arm. Injuries and shuttled back and forth between the rotation and the bullpen has probably stopped him from being the best version of himself.
Didn't sign until after the lockout. Signed a 1-year deal with the Cubs for about $5 million for the 33-year-old from the University of Arkansas, now facing Lindor with 2 out and nobody on, and gets the curveball over for a strike. Lindor 2 for 7 in this series, now has a 9-game hitting streak going. Max Scherzer at the ready. Actually sitting still, which is something that we rarely see. Usually he's up and pacing at this time. There was a time when you would not have been able to pace in the Wrigley Field visitors dugout. Now you actually can, but Max is choosing not to. That's pulled foul.
So I was just thinking, I hope my math's right. The Mets have made 35 outs today. 18 have come by a strikeout.
It's a lot of that. And Lindor strikes out on the high fastball, and Drew Smiley has struck out the side in the opening inning. Now it's Scherzer's turn. No score. Well, it goes without saying that Max Scherzer has been impressive every step of the way for the Mets, but never more so than in these last 2 starts since coming back from the injured list.
I just thought he's really set the tone in Atlanta. Those are his Toyota numbers. Last 13 innings after coming back with the oblique. No runs allowed, 20 strikeouts, no walks.
Rafael Ortega 0 for 8 in this series. Scherzer's made 6 career starts at Wrigley Field, 2-1 with an ERA of 3, so it's like pitching everywhere else for him. Ortega pops one up on the infield. McNeil and Lindor look at each other, and it's Lindor to take charge of it. 1 out. As the Cubs starting lineup in game 2, no Wilson Contreras, who DH'd in the first game of the series and caught the opener today. He's been struggling, so he sits down. Alfonso Rivas gets started first base. Yan Gomes behind the plate. David Bote, his first start of the series at second base. For the Cubs, who've scored just 4 runs total in the last 4 games. They've now lost 8 in a row to fall 22 games under 500. Ian Happ takes a knee-high fastball for a strike.
Gary, in game 1, they were 1 for 21 with men on base.
Well, David Ross has only been a part-time performer in this series. Curveball hit to center field. Nimmo tracking it back to the warning track and reels it in. The wind is blowing in from left, but not knocking down fly balls the way it did in the first 2 games of this series.
Alexis Mets defense. Tomas Nido ended game 1 as the catcher. Catches game 2. Alonso's back at first base. McNeil from left field to second base, and Marcana and Starling Marte back here on the line in the lineup for game 2.
So Scherzer's retired the first 2, and now Seiya Suzuki. Suzuki's had 3 hits in this series, and all 3 have been infield hits. Cubs have a total of 13 hits in the 2 games. And Scherzer crowds him with a fastball. ball and a strike. Suzuki lines one to right, and he's got the first hit of this game. So Suzuki with a 2-out single.
Well, so far in this series, we've seen that Suzuki's got good speed, and he has a nice approach to right field. That one of those infield hits was hit really well past Alonso in Game 1. Good stroke from the side.
So a 2-out base runner, and Nico Hoerner at the plate. Hoerner 2 for 6 in this series. And first pitch curveball from Scherzer outside for ball 1. Hoerner's been probably the most impressive player in this series so far for the Cubs, and really that's been the case all year. We saw in the first game he was listed as the shortstop, but he played everywhere. He played everywhere they thought the Mets might hit the ball. Right? When the left-hand hitter was up, they played him in shallow right field. When there was a bunt situation, they put him at third base.
That's right.
So they obviously think a lot of Hoerner, who is hitting over 300 for the year, up among the league leaders. Out to center field. Scherzer got it in on him enough, and Nimmo's there to make the grab, and that retires the side. A hit and one left. No score after 1. Second inning with no score. Pete Alonso leads off for New York against Drew Smyly, who struck out the side in the first, and Pete fouls back the first pitch fastball, 0-1. Pete's driven in 4 runs in the first 2 games of this series, now 76 for the year, which is a new Mets club record for RBIs before the All-Star break.
I'd like to see him get to 80. He'll take one big game.
Smyly getting lots of swings and misses with that sinker, and it's 0-2. There's a Coors Light beating the pressure. Alonso snapping David Wright's 16-year-old mark for RBIs before the break. Marcana on deck, and then J.D. Davis. Smyly came out of the gates charging.
Yeah, well, the Mets, if they're going to have some success against Smyly, they're going to have to lay off the fastball upstairs. He's always been known as someone very sneaky when he elevates the fastball, and that's what he did in the first.
Even though he's throwing 2-seamers, he's throwing them up.
Pete almost got on top of that one.
Smyly was first drafted by the Tigers in 2010 and made his big league debut with Detroit, and he arrived with the Tigers at a time when Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer were the mainstays in that Tigers rotation, so he and Scherzer go back a long way. And he strikes out Alonso with a curveball, so 4 consecutive strikeouts for Drew Smyly to start the night.
This one a breaking ball. First one breaking ball strikeout for Smyly. Breaking ball in the dirt.
Smyly had some good years with the Tigers, but with Tommy John surgery in 2017, missed 2 full seasons, and he's really been kicking around since then. Giants, Phillies, now with his 7th different major league team. There's Marcana, who didn't start in the opener, appeared as a pinch runner, and he takes the first pitch curveball for a strike. Marcana in his last start Wednesday in Atlanta hit his 7th home run of the year. Didn't start the opening game of the series or the first game today. Been a little bit banged up. And he foul tips one on the fastball, and it's 0-2. Smyly's only made 2 prior career starts against the Mets. Also faced them twice out of the bullpen. Just off the inside corner, 1-2. He has come out throwing predominantly fastballs tonight. Three on the left side against Canha, leaving Rivas, the first baseman, alone on the right. And Canha pops one foul back and out of play. You know what? When Smiley was at Arkansas, you know who his roommate was? Dallas Keuchel.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Two lefties.
So after all these years, he's finally throwing two-seamers like Keuchel did. I guess Keuchel still is, although not very effective so far with Arizona since he hooked up with them. They're just trying to resurrect his career at this point. 1-2 coming. And this is with a curveball, and it's 2-2. J.D. Davis waiting on deck. Smiley actually got off to a really good start this year. 4 starts in April. He had a 2.79 ERA. Off the fists of Canha, and he fouls it off. That'll go out of play. Then he had a rough month of May, and then he came up with the oblique injury and missed 6 weeks, and now working his way back. And the Cubs could really use him right now because they just have not gotten consistent starting pitching at all, with injuries to guys like Kyle Hendricks and Wade Miley that have kept them on the shelf. And so it's really been a roll of the dice for David Ross every day. And, you know, Smiley's not expected to go deep into this game because of the injury circumstances after the Cubs got just 4 1/3 from their starters in each of the first 2 games of the series. And that, you know, that puts so much pressure on the bullpen. That's where their starting pitchers stand. And, you know, Hendricks, even before he got hurt, was not pitching well. And that's always surprising. I mean, he always seems to just throw his glove out there against the Mets and be successful.
Well, Hendricks and Smiley and Stroman just not taking starts is a big story, too.
8th pitch of the at bat. And Canha flies one out to left field. Shallow. Happ coming on. And gets there to make the catch. 2 out. First fair ball hit by the Mets tonight after Smiley struck out the first 4. Do you think you know who will take home the home run title from L.A.? Enter the T-Mobile Home Run Derby Bracket Challenge and compete to win $100,000 at MLB.com/bracket or on the MLB Play app. Restrictions apply. See rules. Now, are there, like, is there a handicap system? I mean,
no, I think
one guy's won the last 2 home run derbies, you know.
Well, you probably have to guess how many home runs are going to hit in each competition, right? To separate yourself from others.
There's J.D. Davis. J.D. has spent most of his season as a DH, but he won a game with his glove earlier today, playing a position that he has almost never played. Only his 4th career game at first base. Moved there in the late innings when Dom Smith turned his ankle while running at second base. Davis replaced him as the free runner in extra innings and then stayed in at first. And with the runner at third and 2 out, potential game-winning situation, dug a throw out of the dirt to keep that game alive. Chases a fastball up and away, and it's 1-2.
What a job by Adam Ottavino to get out of that inning.
I mean, runner at third, nobody out. He struck out 2 and then got that ground ball on the fine play by Escobar and Davis.
That ensures him a game off here at the nightcap.
Got him a win, too. Not that relievers care that much about wins. They can hide 2-2. Well, it certainly raises the question if the Mets have a late inning relief situation with Diaz having worked in the opener and Ottavino having gone 2 innings, who's going to be getting the call? Maybe a Colin Holderman or somebody of that ilk. Maybe a Joely Rodriguez. 2-2 coming, and the breaking ball down. 3-2 to Davis.
Did we mention who the 27th man is for this doubleheader?
We did not.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You got it.
It's Yohan Lopez who has done this before. Gives the Mets an extra arm if they need long relief, but that's not likely with Scherzer pitching. 3-2 coming to Davis, and J.D. fouls back the fastball.
You know, you were talking about Smiley when he first came up with the Tigers, and Scherzer was there, and Justin Verlander, who had another excellent game today, but also Rick Porcello, who was early in his career.
Verlander today 6 scoreless against Oakland. He goes to the break 12-3, 1.89 after missing 2 years at age 39. It's a remarkable story. Seventh pitch of the at bat to JD. And he fouls off another fastball.
After the Astros loss, and they don't lose a lot, but after they've lost and Justin Verlander started the next game, he's now this season 8-0 and has given up 6 runs in 58 innings.
Wow. How about this? The team behind the Astros in the standings just won their 13th in a row. Mariners today won in extra innings, and the Astros still have a 10-game lead. Curveball fouled off, and JD able to keep the at bat alive.
But that gets Seattle in the wild card race now.
They are in the second spot behind Tampa Bay, with Boston and Toronto trailing them. There's the West with the Astros far out in front. J.P. Crawford had the game-winning hit for the Mariners today in the 11th inning against Texas for the 13th straight win, their longest since their last playoff year in 2001. And that curveball's down, ball 4, and JD works out a walk, a 9-pitch plate appearance, and the Mets have their first base runner of the game. So 2 out, a runner at first, and here's Eduardo Escobar, who is very happy to see Drew Smyly out of the mound. 5 for 10 with 3 home runs. That's more home runs than he has against any other pitcher, even though he has only 10 at bats against Smyly. Eduardo's 2 for 9 in this series. And takes a fastball for a strike. They are back underway in Washington after a long rain delay. Braves leading the Nationals 6-3. That game's just gone to the 9th. So the Mets with their first game win are 2.5 in front. That could shrink to 2 in a moment, and then they could get it back to 2.5 if they win. Just have to understand that the Braves are not going to lose until they play the Mets again. That's pulled foul. Cutter running in on his hands, and it's 0-2.
Got a nice combination. Max Fried started the game, and Austin Riley hit another home run.
Matt Olson hit another home run. And if you look at the Wrigley Field hand-operated scoreboard, you wouldn't even know there was a game going on.
They need more hand operating.
Well, there isn't a lot of room back there, so they can't have too many people scurrying around in that scoreboard. But there's so they follow the scores on their phone, and then they have to fill in the blanks. It's not an easy job. That's dripped down the left field line. That's a base hit for Escobar, and it goes all the way back to the wall. JD digging for third. He's going to be held up by Joey Cora. Even with 2 out, Cora reluctant to send JD as that ball got into the hands of Horner after it was dug out of the corner by Happ, and that saved a run. What a double for Escobar as he continues his ownership of Smyly.
Yeah, breaking ball down and in that he throws into the left field corner, but it's Happ that makes this play. He plays it off the wall on 1 hop and is able to get it and get it in very quickly. JD, of course, with 2 outs is going as fast as he can, probably looking for Cora to send him, but no, he shut him down. And Escobar is hustling just in case there's a play at the plate. He could take third.
So now a chance for Jeff McNeil with 2 out and 2 in scoring position. The Mets' first hit of the game. And he takes a curveball for a strike.
Watch how he plays this off the wall. Bounces up, catches it on 1 hop and gets it in. That's the only way. If he bobbles at it all, Cora sends Davis.
Lucky he got just the ball and not a handful of greenery. And McNeil is hit by the pitch, and that'll load up the bases. Ball just nicked McNeil. 62nd time the Mets have been hit this year. They continue to lead the world.
Just the fastball is supposed to be away. It's up and in, and well, I don't know. Maybe it caught a piece of the equipment.
Well, they got him. Got him on that hand guard. The umpire is looking into the dugout to see if David Ross wants to challenge. He says no, but he'll send his pitching coach out to talk to Smyly before he faces Tomas Nido with the bases loaded.
this is just one of those meetings where you just tell your pitcher, hey, listen, forget about that. You've got good stuff today, which he does. 4 of the 6 outs he's gotten by way of the strikeout. So just a little blow. This is one of those outs that you have to get if you want to have a good game in the major leagues. 9th hitter up, 2 outs, bases loaded.
Just wonder, second start back off the injured list, whether maybe Smiley has emptied his tank quickly in this game.
I mean, if your tank is empty now when you're coming off an injury, then you probably shouldn't have come back. Should be ready to go.
So here's Nido with a chance to do damage. He's had terrific numbers all year with runners in scoring position. And he tries to lay off and did on a pitch away, ball 1. Now Nido came up in the 10th inning in game 1 with 2 men on and couldn't get a bunt down and wound up striking out against David Robertson. Now he's got a chance with the bases loaded and 2 out. And he comes up empty on the fastball and it's 1-1. Tomas takes such a big swing. You just wish in these situations he'd cut it down a little bit.
I think he has one swing, Gary, and that's what he uses. But his numbers with 2 outs and runners in scoring position is awfully good.
And now he's down in the count 1-2. Smiley retired the first 2. He walked Davis. Escobar doubled. McNeil hit by a pitch. 1-2 coming to Nido. And Tomas flies one out to left, and Happ has this one lined up. And that retires the side. So Smiley gets into and out of trouble in the second. Still no score. Cubs of note going back to the 19th century to Cap Anson. He was the captain. Hippo Vaughn, great pitcher back in the 19-teens. Gabby Hartnett, who hit the home run in the Gloaming.
3-time All-Star.
Frank Chance, the first baseman of the renowned Tinkers to Evers to Chance. Mordecai Three-Fingered Brown only needed 3 fingers to fashion a 1.04 ERA. Hack Wilson has the single-season RBI record, 191. Fly ball hit by Frank Schwindel toward the left field corner. That's going to be down for an extra base hit. And Schwindel stands at second base with a leadoff double. So Schwindel jumping the first pitch from Max Scherzer. And he's got the second hit for the Cubs tonight.
You know, Schwindel was the star offensively for the Cubs in game 1. He got on base 3 times, 2 hits and a walk. And here jumps all over the first pitch for a resounding double to left field.
So the second hit against Scherzer.
Well, all the hits in the first game were off the fastball as well.
And he starts Patrick Wisdom with a slider, swung and missed. Wisdom 0 for 7 in this series with 3 strikeouts. Now 122 strikeouts for the season, by far the most in the National League. McNeil keeping Schwindel, not a fast runner, close at second base. And Wisdom lays off the slider, and it's 1-1.
I thought Max in his last game, Gary, you and Keith were there, but I thought that was the best slider that he's had all year.
Well, against these right-handed dominant lineups like the Braves, like the Cubs, it becomes such an important weapon for him. Throws the fastball away to get a swinging strike, 1-2. Your stats with Lowe's, first pitcher in Major League history with 75 strikeouts in his first 10 starts with 3 different teams. If I remember his first big league outing with Arizona, he came in relief. Let's go back and look. It was like 4 1/3 innings, 10 strikeouts, something absurd like that. Swing and a miss, and he gets Wisdom for the first out of the inning, first strikeout of the night for Scherzer.
Good slider. See that dot on that slider, so small. That means great spin.
And it's still amazing when you think about it that the Diamondbacks traded him after his first full season of the big leagues. He went on to become a star in Detroit. I don't think there was anybody who questioned that he was going to be a star. Here's Alfonso Rivas, and he drives one into left field for a base hit. Schwindel will go to third and be held there. So another hard hit ball on a first pitch fastball, and Rivas is aboard. Runners at the corners with one out.
So Max will see this trend, but now you've had 3 hitters here in this inning that have all swung at the first pitch. A hit for Schwindel, a hit for Rivas, and Wisdom swung and missed at a slider. You know those K totals we put up there, they don't want to get the 2 strikes.
I gave Max a little too much credit. His first outing for Arizona, 4 1/3 innings, no runs, no hits, no walks, 7 strikeouts.
7 strikeouts in relief.
That was his major league debut in relief against the Astros in whatever year it was. 2008. Here's Yan Gomes. And Scherzer misses high with a fastball, ball 1. So a little bit different feeling for Max, who's been giving up almost nothing in his first couple of starts back from the IL. Just 5 hits in 13 innings in those 2 starts. He's already allowed 3 hits in an inning and a third tonight.
Such a deep lead from that base at first base.
Curveball misses, and it's 2-0 to Gomes, his former battery mate. He was, of course, caught for Washington when Scherzer was there.
Yep, that's right.
Max looking for the ground ball from Gomes. And instead he gets a line drive down the left field line. That's a fair ball. And that'll bring in the first run. It bounces out of play. It's a ground rule double. Schwindel comes in to score, and the Cubs have a 1-0 lead. So Gomes gets the best of his former battery mate with a ground rule double to drive in the first run of the night. And it's 1-0 Cubs.
Well, as good as that slider was in Atlanta, it has not been as good here or consistent in the first couple innings here for Max Scherzer.
That ball bouncing out of play. Off the end of the bat, but hooked into left field. So a run in, runners at second and third. The infield will come in with David Bote at the plate. And Bote takes a slider for a strike. Bote getting his first start in this series. He missed the first almost 3 months of the season after shoulder surgery, so he's only had 29 at bats this year. Got an at bat in the first game of the series and got a base hit. Rivas at third, Gomes at second with 1 out. It's chopped foul, and it's 0-2, and this is a spot where Scherzer's got to be thinking strikeout. Bote at the plate, Rafael Ortega on deck.
Max 5-3, 2.90 ERA in 11 starts against the Cubs in his career.
Oh, 2 to Bote, and he couldn't get him to bite on the slider. 1-2. Well, it's the second inning, and David Ross is still here.
He's not going to say a word.
Ejected from each of the first 2 games in this series. 1-2 coming, up and away, and it's 2-2. And Max just not nearly as sharp as he was those first 2 starts back. Against the Reds and then against the Braves. Two coming to Bote, and he nicks the outside corner. Strike 3 call. Big pitch by Scherzer for the second out. John Tumpane, the home plate umpire. Gave him the outside corner. Second strikeout of the inning for Max.
Well, a pitcher's pitch right there, and the great ones do it. When they have their back up against the wall, they seem to be able to come up with that strikeout. And fastball right on the corner.
So now 2 out. The infield can back up. And on the left hand hitting Rafael Ortega, who popped up his first time up. Scherzer trying to limit the damage in the second to just 1 run. He leans back Ortega with a cutter. Ball 1. Ortega now 0 for 9 in this series. Getting all the starts in center field right now. Scherzer throws a fastball by him, and it's 0-2, 1-1, excuse me. And it's popped up in the shallow left. Should be easy for McNeil or for Acana. And Acana puts it away to retire the side. 3 hits produce a run for the Cubs. They lead 1-0. Batting order, Brandon Nimmo leads off against Drew Smyly, and we check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
So, guys, I'm not sure if you noticed this, but over the last few months and really since last year, a lot of guys around the Mets are starting to wear a different type of batting glove. Brandon Nimmo was the first to wear these batting gloves that have a lightning bolt on the top of them. That's a new brand called Bruce Bolt batting gloves. And Nimmo was the first because last year he was looking for something with the hand injury that had a little bit more padding, and he found these online made from real leather as opposed to synthetic leather, as Nimmo laces a base hit into right field. So he found these online, called up the company, they sent him some pairs, and he loved them. He loved them, he loved the padding, he loved the durability, and he used them. But the interesting thing about Bruce Bolt is the story behind the company. This company was started back in 2017 by a 16-year-old named Bear Mayer who lived in Austin, Texas. He had just helped contribute to his first truck that he bought, and he needed gas money. So his father told him, you either get a job, it's your responsibility, or start a company. And he said, you know what, I'm going to try to start a company. He was a big baseball player, and he was frustrated with how much his batting gloves would rip. As Marte flies this one.
Oh. Nimmo will go to third as Ortega had that ball in his glove and flat out dropped it for an error. And the Mets get a huge break there, putting runners at first and third with nobody out.
Well, he got there in plenty of time. I don't know if he took his eye off it to look where the runners were, but just a clank.
Always hit well by Marte, but that's an easy play for a center fielder, and he
closed his glove too soon, and he closed his eyes, which was you don't usually see. Nimmo on point.
Buck Showalter is out talking to the first base umpire Marvin Hudson. I don't know if there's a question about perhaps some obstruction, where Marte was rounding first and perhaps the first baseman was in the way. That's the only thing I can think of that Buck might be concerned about there.
Well, see, Marte's watching the ball the whole time, and he thought it was going to be caught, and then the umpire got in the way.
So it's umpire obstruction. Nothing you can do about that.
It's hard to argue that when your player's halfway in the dugout.
Yeah, that's on Marte for peeling off like that before the ball was caught. In any event, the Mets have a chance here with first and third and nobody out, and Lindor at the plate. Francisco struck out his first time up, and Smyly bounces one, and Smyly not looking nearly as crisp as he was early. Let's go back to Steve so we can finish the story about the batting glove.
Yeah, so this kid, like I said, he was just 16 years old. He started this company. Pardon me. And really, there was not a whole lot of traction. Trey Hillman was a family friend. So there were a couple of guys throughout the major leagues who had started to use these gloves, but it wasn't really until Brandon Nimmo called, again, kind of sight unseen, just found it on the internet last year. This kid, Bear Mayer, he said his dad picked up the phone because it was just a tiny company, him, his parents, and he turned to Bear and he said, "Oh my God, the New York Mets are on the phone and they want these gloves." And sent him to Nimmo. The guy started to like them and try them out, and now there's a bunch of Mets. Jeff McNeil uses them as well that have started to use these things both for batting practice and for some of them in the actual game. Not everybody can right now because they've got deals with other companies, but a bunch of guys really like these gloves that are made of authentic leather and are pretty durable.
That's tremendous. So maybe Bear will be able to retire before he gets out of high school. Grounded down to third, swept up nicely by Wisdom. His throw will go to first as a run comes home. And it's a 1-1 game. So Nimmo comes in to score, breaking on contact. They get the out at first. Marte moves up to second. Give Lindor his 66th run batted into the season.
Well, it seems like a small thing, but Nimmo on point, crack of the bat. I think that Wisdom could have had a play home, but the best and smartest play was to go to first base. Make sure of the out. Don't turn this into a huge inning.
So Wisdom makes the smart play.
Guys, I'll add one thing before the inning totally gets away from me here, but the reason for the name Bruce Bolt, this kid's grandfather's name was Bruce. He was a great baseball player, and he's one of the few people to have ever survived getting struck by lightning, not once, but twice.
Wow.
So that's where the Bolt comes in.
That's outstanding.
I mean, that's burying the lead, Steve. You got to go with that first.
Straight out of Wonder Boy. Alonso struck out his first time up. Marte at second with one away. And Pete flies one out to left. Happ is right there waiting. And that's the second out.
Well, just like the Cubs in the bottom of the second, they're really hitting some balls hard off Scherzer. Same thing for the Mets here in this inning.
56 pitches for Smiley. That's how many he threw in his first start off the injured list on Sunday against the Dodgers. So we'll see how far they allow him to go today. There's Canha, who flied out to left his first time up. By the way, the Braves have won their game 6-3 the final. Max Fried goes 7 innings for the win. That is 9 straight losses for the Nats, 15 of their last 16. Canha takes fastball inside, ball 1.
And a disgruntled right fielder who didn't appreciate whoever leaked the news of his contract.
Supposedly, the Nats offered Soto 15 years, $440 million, and he turned it down for a ball at the feet of Canha, and it's 2-0. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of years. It's a relatively low average annual value. He's 23 years old. He won't be a free agent until after the 24 season. And the Nats are hinting now that he's on the trading market, with the trading deadline a couple of weeks away. 2-1 to Canha.
Not his fault.
But
he's his excellent self, like he always is. But the team is terrible.
But with 2.5 years to go before free agency, who has enough to even afford to be able to trade for him? Right? I mean, you'd have to get the greatest deal of all time if you're the Nationals. I mean, you can't have a bigger asset than that, than a guy who has 2 years of control after this one. Canha flies one out to right field, easy for Suzuki. And that retires the side. Mets get an unearned run. Lindor with the RBI, and they get Scherzer even, 1-1 in the third. Ian Happ leads off the home third and attacks a first pitch fastball from Max Scherzer and fouls it off. Cubs have been doing a lot of attacking early in the count against Scherzer, and they had some hard hit balls in the second inning. Produced a run on 3 hits. Max stranded 2 in scoring position. Happ flied out his first time up. Goes to the changeup, and it's fouled off, and it's 0-2. Final game of the series tomorrow afternoon. David Peterson makes the start for the Mets. Adrian Sampson, first look at him for the Mets, will go for the Cubs. Coverage begins at 1:30 tomorrow. First pitch at 2:20 Eastern time. Cutter at the feet of Happ, and it's 1-2.
There we go. Happ's on board.
More in Bears 401k, or 529 as it were. Popped up on the third base side. Escobar hoping for room, and it goes in the stands. There's not a lot of room in foul territory here. A little bit behind home plate, directly behind the plate, but other than that, you run out of room very quickly here. So the distance from the backstop to home plate is considerable, but up the lines, just about nothing. That's hooked foul. Happ leading off. Seiya Suzuki on deck, then Nico Hoerner for the Cubs. One-two coming from Scherzer, and that's pulled down the line, just foul. Scherzer trying to find the formula. Cutters and changeups to the left-hand batter. Doesn't feel, I think, that he has the pop on his fastball tonight. As we mentioned in the first game today, the Cubs are a fastball hitting team. Seventh pitch of the at-bat coming to Happ. Tries the fastball, and it's fouled off. Happ is 1 for 10 in his career against Scherzer. Eighth pitch of the at bat from Scherzer to Happ, and he runs that cutter inside. It's 2-2. So nothing's coming easily for Max tonight.
Well, this is where you battle. You know, just because you don't have your best stuff, it doesn't mean you can't be successful out there. You just have to kind of find a formula.
And he dives the outside corner for strike three call. Perfect pitch outside corner at the knees. Happ goes away angry, and he's been ejected from the game, and then he slams the bat down, and he better watch out, or he might get in some kind of a suspension territory. John Tumpane ejecting Ian Happ after he argued a call third strike, and David Ross has already been ejected from the first two games of this series, looking more plaintive than angry.
Boy, quick trigger by both umpires in this game. Game one, DeJesus throwing out Ross, and here Tumpane. Now, Ian Happ might have said the magic word, so that always gets you thrown out. But
it looked like a perfect pitch by Scherzer. And now Ross continuing the conversation, which puts him in danger of getting thrown out again. Tumpane is trying to walk away, it would appear, but not being particularly successful. And finally, Ross gives it up.
Well, Happ thought this pitch was down. You can make the argument that was perfect on the knees pitch. Snatched up there by Nito, and he makes the call. And he was walking away. So managers get angry when their players are thrown out if they're not showing up the umpire and walking back to the dugout. But again, if he said the magic word, and there's a couple of them, you get thrown out.
Meanwhile, David Ross was on headset talking with Cubs TV when all that came down, and he had to shed the headset and head out there. Seiya Suzuki takes a slider for a strike, and it's 1-1. At least he didn't slam it down, didn't break the equipment.
The argument, if you're Ross, is that, hey, this is a doubleheader. We're resting some guys in the second game. It's not like you have a full bench.
Maybe that's the at bat that gets Scherzer going. 9 pitches, made a perfect pitch to strike out Happ. Now ahead on Suzuki, 1-2. And Suzuki goes down swinging on the changeup. So back-to-back strikeouts for Scherzer. His 4th of the night.
So he's been trying to use that slider. He decided now to go to changeup against Suzuki with 2 strikes. Just like an FM radio. He's just moving that dial to find out when the music can come in. Where's the perfect place?
Or maybe he's a ham.
Oh, ham radio off.
On the corner for a strike to Nico Hoerner. And all of a sudden, Scherzer looks a little more dialed back in. Hoerner fly to center his first time, and he pulls one foul, and it's 0-2. You never know what's going to get somebody locked in. Scherzer is such an adrenaline guy. And when Happ was called out on strikes and started to argue, Scherzer started screaming at Happ.
You know he's saying, hey, that's a perfect pitch.
Right.
Go sit down.
And, you know, maybe that's all it took. Oh-2 coming to Hoerner. And he fouls away that fastball. 96 from Max. So he's starting to cut it loose. He said after his last start that he still had not grunted. He might have grunted on that last pitch. You can't hear that from here. And Hoerner just got a piece of that curveball to stay in the at bat. So Max going to a little different formula here. Change-ups and curveballs deep in the count against right-hand batters. You're not used to seeing that from Scherzer. Frank Schwindel would be next. And Hoerner with a check swing. He went around strike 3. And Max Scherzer strikes out the side in the 3rd inning. Struck out 3, and Cubs lose their left fielder. Moves from center field to left field. Christopher Morel, who started the first 2 games of the series at second base, comes into play center field. 1-1 game as we start the 4th. J.D. Davis leads off against Drew Smyly. J.D. drew a walk his first time up. When Max Scherzer came off the mound after striking out the side, he was in full force bluster as he walked or stalked through the Mets dugout. JD pops one up in foul ground. Might be playable. Rivas with the wind carrying it, and it stays in play. The wind was blowing it toward the dugout, but Rivas stayed with it for the first down. Hey, parents, your child could join us in the booth to call half inning of a Mets game on SNY. Just go to sny.tv/kidcaster and submit your child's video entry to enter to win the 2022 SNY Kidcaster contest.
All that was missing from Max was, are you talking to me? I'm the only one here.
He would need a mirror for that. As Eduardo Escobar, who had the first Met hit tonight, and he flies this one foul. Escobar doubled down the left field line in the 2nd. And only a fine play by Happ, playing the ball off the wall, kept a run from scoring. Escobar now 3 for 10 in this series, and now 6 for 11 with 3 home runs against Drew Smyly. That's drilled to deep left field. Back goes Ortega. It's over his head, and it's out of here. Eduardo Escobar again against Drew Smyly. His 4th home run in 12 career at-bats against this left-hander. This one gives the Mets the lead 2-1 in the 4th. 11th home run of the year for Escobar and complete ownership of Drew Smyly.
Well, Escobar from the right side, he loves the ball down, and that's where the 2 hits he's gotten against Smiley, the double and the home run, have both been pitches down at the knees. Just drops the head of the bat on this ball, and the only way to really hit it out of Wrigley this evening is to hit a line drive like that so it doesn't catch the wind.
111 miles an hour off the bat, and it was hit solidly with a low trajectory, and Escobar now with 11 home runs. 5 of the 11 have now come as a right-hand batter, and the Mets lead for the first time in this game.
And just look at that power that Escobar from the bottom up gets. A lot of power from his legs. You've always said it, Gary, pound for pound, he's one of the strongest guys on the Mets team. And there's contact, ball down. Let's go with the bat and just a BB.
McNeil with a check swing, 1 hopper, and Horner throws him out, 2 away. So Escobar now 7 for 12 with 4 home runs against Drew Smiley. Who was your guy?
Matt Williams. Only had 5 hits in his career, all 5 home runs. I mean, I had a few guys, but that was the guy.
Well, Smiley's a guy who's always given up a lot of home runs, even in his best seasons. Last year gave up 27 home runs in 126 innings. That's the 9th he's allowed this year in 48 innings. Tomas Nido flied out his first time up. But you know, they say there are horses for courses.
There is. And it also is the gift that keeps on giving, because once you've taken slight ownership, then you have all the confidence in the world every time you go to the plate against that pitcher.
Nido fouls off the fastball from Smiley.
One of the best hitters, and I think he had the most hits in the 90s, played first base for these Cubs. And I only say this because he always reminds me of it. But 1 for 28 off me.
Mark
And
Grace.
I don't know how it was 1 for 28, because he was such a difficult out when I was facing him.
Anderson Espinosa up in the bullpen for the Cubs.
So that's just the case, really. He probably hit a lot of line drives right at people and got unlucky.
That's amazing. Mark Grace, 1 for 28.
That's right. Wow. He always curses me out every time I see him.
That's pulled toward the hole. That's a base hit for Nido. So Nido, who flied out with the bases loaded his first time up, this time finds the hole for the Mets' 4th hit of this game.
Nido came up with the bases loaded in his first at bat. Hit a high fly ball to left field. This time a swing a little more under control as he handles that breaking ball for a base hit. I really think Tomas is a better breaking ball hitter than he is a fastball hitter.
So Smiley might be reaching the end of the line. You got the right-hander up in the bullpen. So with Nimmo at the plate, this might be his last hitter regardless. Nimmo had a base hit to right field his last time up, 1 for 2 tonight. And the fastball up and in for ball 1. Again for Smiley, just his second start back off an oblique injury. 56 pitches his first time out. About to throw his 75th in this game. And Max searching for his next prey. It's like a jaguar. That's lined the other way. Nice play by Wisdom, taking it off the grass, and he throws out Nimmo to end the inning. But Escobar's home run puts the Mets in front, 2-1 for Scherzer. Max Scherzer struck out the side in the bottom of the 3rd. Now he has the lead for the first time, 2-1, as he faces Frank Schwindel leading off the bottom of the 4th. And a first pitch slider in for a strike. Schwindel jumped a first pitch fastball first time up and drilled a double into the left field corner. Came around to score the Cubs run. Got that ball into the hands of Schwindel, 0-2. Well, this was the third inning.
Well, he just, with this perfect pitch to Happ, he gets the call from Tompain. After that, the changeup to Suzuki and the breaking ball and the check swing from Horner. And talking to himself off the mound.
And he strikes out Schwindel on 3 pitches, got him with a changeup. That's 4 consecutive strikeouts now for Scherzer. So he has hit his stride after struggling through the first couple of innings.
Slider, fastball, change. A little bit of everything that Schwindel see.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Patrick Wisdom, who struck out his first time up. First pitch curveball in for a strike. Max likes to steal a strike with that first pitch curve, and Taijuan Walker has begun doing that as well. Max started the day 12 strikeouts behind Justin Verlander. Verlander struck out 10, so now he's 22 behind Verlander, who passed both Curt Schilling and Bob Gibson on the all-time list today. So he needs 17 today to catch Schilling.
Reminds me a little when Steve Carlton and Nolan Ryan were towards the end of their career. They would go back and forth, right, with strikeouts.
And Scherzer was ahead of Verlander until Max went on the injured list for a month and a half. And now he's chasing his old buddy again. It's hard to believe when you think about it that they were on the same staff for those years in Detroit. I said this before. It's hard to believe that the Diamondbacks traded him as early in his career as they did. Because even though his first full year as a starter, he was so-so. He had an ERA a little over 4. If you had watched him and seen the intensity in this man, you had to know that he was going to be an enormous success.
And sometimes, Gary, with some organizations that worked against him, they thought he was too intense, that he was going to burn out, that his mechanics were wrong, and at some point he was going to hurt his arm. You heard all of that stuff with Max, and they were all wrong.
2-2 to Wisdom. Yeah, that's too high, full count. Scherzer has not walked a batter since he's come off the injured list. Now 16 and a third innings without a walk. Wisdom lines one down the left field line, and he's got a base hit. Chased by Canha. Wisdom is going to head for second, and he'll make it easily with a double. Well, Patrick Wisdom has his first hit in this series, a 1-out double.
Yeah, on that 3-2 pitch, Max decided to go with the changeup, left it over the middle of the plate. Good hitting from Wisdom. Just the high changeup. And a ringing line drive by Wisdom. Took Canha some time to get hold of this one, almost bounced away from him.
If you don't have a lot of experience playing that side wall at Wrigley Field, it is really difficult. There's Alfonso Rivas, who had an opposite field single his first time up. And another first pitch curveball. This one misses for ball 1. I mean, you've got the warning track, the line, and the wall coming up almost simultaneously when you get down toward that side. Nasty cutter by Scherzer, and it's 1-1.
Look at the motion of Scherzer. Watch the arm. Concentrate on that. He just drops it by his side and then just comes straight up with it. It's kind of like a cylinder the way it works.
It's a violent but repeatable delivery.
Yeah, it is. He has some things working with his head that he'll kind of sometimes like jerk it away from his motion. But I think it's part of all the deception that he brings as well.
2-1 to Rivas. And he hits the outside corner, and it's 2-2.
It's the same pitch we showed you, but this is real time. I mean, do that every fifth day for forever. 125 times. World-class athlete. That's what Scherzer is.
4 wins away from 200 for his career. Two coming. Off the fist's a foul ball. Three Cy Young awards, 2 no-hitters, 8 times an All-Star. Helped to will the Nats to a World Series title in 2019. Part of that 3-headed monster with Strasburg and Corbin that year. Got him looking. Change up over the heart of the plate, got Rivas for the second out.
Just has too many weapons.
That's 7 punch outs now for Scherzer, 2 out of the inning. Wisdom still at second. And now Yan Gomes, who drove in the Cubs run with a double in the second against his old battery mate. Gomes is now 4 for 8 against Scherzer. Always like the odds of catchers who have caught the guys they're facing. I mean, who's going to have a better understanding of what Scherzer's going to do? And he lines this one to left, and that's down for a base hit. Wisdom around third and heads for the plate. The throw by Cannon not in time, and the Cubs have tied it. Yan Gomes with his second RBI hit of the night. And it's 2-2.
Jerry, I think both on the same pitch. Yeah, a little slider right in the middle of the plate. And Gomes hammered the first one for a double, this one for a run-scoring single. Patrick Wisdom gets a great secondary lead, so there is no play at the plate on him. And almost the carbon copy of the swing in his first at-bat. Great follow-through there by Gomes.
Gomes now 5 for 9 against Scherzer. And now David Bote takes a big rip and comes up empty, 0-1. Scherzer in his first 2 starts off the injured list gave up a total of 5 hits in the 2 starts. He's given up 6 already tonight. Gets a swing and miss on the slider, and it's 0-2 to Bote. Bote struck out looking his first time up. One of 7 strikeouts for Scherzer. Max made his return from the injured list against Cincinnati with 6 brilliant innings. Backed it up with an even more important start on Monday against the Braves. It's been a little more of a challenge so far tonight. 1-2 coming to Bote, and he struck him out. 8 strikeouts for Scherzer, including 3 in the inning. But Gomes with his second run scoring hit to tie the game, 2-2 after 4. Toyota is looking to help local football leagues in need continue play in 2022, providing grants, clinics, and equipment donations. Right now we're accepting applications. If you know a local football league in need, apply today at sny.tv/playball.
Well, you know what happens with Max in between the innings when things don't go absolutely correct. He kind of walks through the inning with his catcher, but he knows that was a mistake he made to Gomes, trying to throw it down and away. that first pitch and left it over the middle. Happens.
So we start fresh, 2-2 as we begin the fifth, and a little surprising to see Drew Smyly still in the game. Starling Marte will lead off the fifth inning against him, and he takes first pitch curveball for a strike.
How do you say no if you're Smyly? You have a team that is going through a doubleheader, only got less than 5 innings from the starter in game one.
Both games in this series, the starter went just 4 1/3. Keegan Thompson on Thursday, and then Marcus Stroman first game today. For Stroman, it was his second start back from injury, and same for Smyly. Marte hit a fly ball to center that was dropped for an error his last time up. He flies this one to pretty deep center field, but should be enough room for Morel going back. And he's got it at the edge of the warning track. 1 out. Different center fielder. This time a catch. Net leaders against the Cubs. Remember, they used to be in the same division for many years in the National League East. Doc Gooden beat him 27 times. Howard Johnson hit 25 home runs against them. And Nick Kranepool played the most games against them, as he played the most games against most teams. Here's Francisco Lindor, who drove in the first Met run with a ground out in the third. His 66th run batted in. And he lays off the pitch out of the strike zone, ball 1. This is the Mets' 20th doubleheader since the start of last year, and they have won at least 1 game in each of the 20. It's the longest stretch in Mets history of not being swept in a doubleheader. Big cut by Lindor, and it's 1-1. I mean, last year was 7-inning games in doubleheaders. This year it's 9-inning games in doubleheaders. Hasn't mattered.
They've got another one this year, don't they, against the Braves?
They've got a day-nighter against the Braves in a couple of weeks. Mets still have 12 games left against the Braves. It's a lot more to happen in this division, which right now are 2 games in front of Atlanta. Trying to get to 2.5 with a win here. And a curveball in the dirt to Lindor, 3-1. Pete Alonso waiting on deck. Out of the break, the Mets will be playing the Padres and the Yankees. The Padres, who are going in the wrong direction right now. 6-13 in their last 19. That's lined toward the middle. A base hit for Lindor. Got a little off the end of the bat, but pokes it into left center. And so Lindor now has a 10-game hitting streak. And the Mets have their 5th hit of the night. And I think that's going to be all for Smyly.
See that from the side. Lindor got on top of that high pitch and drilled it past the shortstop Horner.
So with the right-hand hitters coming up, Smyly's coming out of the game.
Look at this contact is right across the letters. And like you said, Gary, a little off the end of the bat, but he was able to get on top of it. Nice swing.
So Smyly out after 4 1/3. So in all 3 games in this series so far, the Cubs starter has gone exactly 4 1/3. Anderson Espinoza coming in to pitch. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Nissan. '23-year-old Anderson Espinoza makes just his 3rd big league appearance. Comes in to face Pete Alonso in a tie game in the 5th. Lindor at first with 1 out. Alonso's 0 for 2 in this game, and he takes a fastball at the knees from Espinoza.
Pitched in the farm system in Boston and with San Diego. Had Tommy John surgery twice in 2017 and 2019. Didn't return to the majors till last season.
The 2 appearances he's made for the Cubs this year have been true long relief. As he misses with the slider 1-1. He went 4 innings against the Brewers back in May, and he went 3 innings against the Dodgers last week. So he was their 27th man added for the doubleheader today to give them some length, which obviously the Cubs need with their starters having gone so short all 3 games in this series. Lindor at first trying to get a read on him.
Well, they had him ready for when Smyly exited. Kind of like they had 2 starting pitchers ready, Smyly and Espinoza.
Espinoza was pitching in Double-A for Tennessee. 12 starts this year, not faring very well in Double-A, with a 7.11 ERA, 10 home runs allowed in 44 innings in the Southern League. And Pete lays off the slider, and it's 2-1.
Yan Gomes has always been one of the better catchers at blocking the ball. That he almost stayed a little too high on that one.
Punching buttons on the pitch com. Right side completely open for Alonso, with Schwindel holding the runner and the Cubs in a shift. And Pete grounds one. Grabbed by Horner, gets the out at second. Bodie with the turn in time for the double play. Side retired. 6-4-3 double play, and Espinosa gets the job done. Keeps it tied halfway through.
This iconic ballpark, so much history here, but at some point it gets a little difficult to find something new. So I talked to some people with the Cubs. I said, hey, what's one thing about this ballpark that is really great, but people just don't know about it? And the answer I got was talk about the old groundskeeper's house, which is right outside of left field, still intact. It's called the Caretaker's Home, or Bobby Doerr's house. This is Bobby Doerr's home from about 1922 until his death in 1957. Bobby Doerr was the Cubs groundskeeper from 1919 until 1957, and he worked for both the Cubs and the Chicago Bears, and worked so hard that he was often said to basically live at the ballpark. So in between the 22 and 23 seasons, the owner of the Cubs, William Wrigley Jr., he had the idea of changing it from almost living at the ballpark to actually living at the ballpark. So he built a home for him, $6,000, and had Doerr's entire family move in there and stay there for the duration of his time with the Cubs, which was ultimately the duration of his life. It was not only connected to the ballpark, but the back door actually opened up right onto the concourse, and he got to live there rent-free, did Doerr, as long as he watched over the property in case of fire, vandals, and things like that.
That's a great story.
Awesome.
It's definitely one that nobody knows.
I mean, Gary and I, that's the media entrance right there. So
right next to it.
We've walked past that since I've been 22 years old. I've walked past that.
And of course, you know, it's all about the Cubs groundskeeper, Bobby Doerr. And of course, Bobby Doerr is a very famous baseball name. Hall of Fame second baseman for the Red Sox. But this is not the same Bobby Doerr. This is Bobby Doerr of the Green Door.
And it's such an iconic part, even if it's a little known part of this stadium, that when they renovated the stadium back in 2014, we're going through one of the many renovations here, they picked up the entire house in full, moved it to a different part of the property, and then moved it back to the exact same spot. And you see, too, it had actually been painted over white, but when they moved it back, they took off layers of paint, restored it back to its original brick, just so that it was there. And it right now is used as offices, but there's no plans to get rid of Bobby Doerr's old house anytime soon.
Some concern for Rafael Ortega after that last foul ball.
Fouled the ball off his shin.
David Ross is already down one outfielder in this game after Ian Happ was ejected in the third. Certainly doesn't want to lose another one.
So I guess it's kind of like the same premise. First, let's look at the foul ball. I thought he got it like off the inside of his shin, which he did. So the Bobby Doerr house is kind of like the same premise as some churches that will sometimes have a manse as part of the church where the reverend or will live. Kind of cool.
And you know, you can think of Wrigley Field in the sense of a baseball cathedral.
Exactly.
So maybe there's some connection there.
Kind of lost some of its idyllic nature in between games. They had the leaf blowers blowing the garbage away.
It was very loud. Curveball misses 3-2. There was no chance of a nap, that's for sure. let me tell you, I tried.
Hey, Ronnie, when you played here, did you appreciate it as much as you do coming back as a broadcaster or a spectator? Is it something that when you're when you're playing, you're so locked into what you're doing that you're not thinking as much about the history of it all.
No, Steve, you always knew that it was a special trip into Chicago. It was special also because it was day baseball. There was no night baseball till after '88. You knew each and every time that you're going to a special place. Absolutely.
Scherzer just walked his first batter of the night, a leadoff walk to Ortega. We'll see how badly he's hurting by whether he thinks about trying to steal a base. Christopher Morel for the first time in this game. He took over Ian Happ's spot after Happ was ejected, arguing a call third strike in the third. Morel started the first 2 games of this series, went 1 for 6. Ortega has 7 steals this year, but he has a very short lead at first. And Morel swings and misses at a fastball. 1-1. Funny thing is, before the Cubs got good in '84, this place was desolate most of the time. Runner goes, swung and missed. Nido from his knees in plenty of time, and Ortega's out by a mile. Was that designed to be a hit and run play? Either that or it was the worst jump in history, because Ortega was out by about 15 feet. And now some unhappiness between McNeil and Ortega after McNeil put the tag on him.
Well, he's not happy because McNeil blocked the bag. And both Escobar and Lindor are acting as peacekeepers. I mean, the throw beat him by so much that McNeil was just trying to, you know, make sure that the tag wasn't too hard. But did he spike him when he came in? I don't know.
I mean, what does Ortega have to be unhappy about?
What he needed to do, considering what has happened the last 30 seconds, is get off the field. He didn't need to be arguing out there.
Morel strikes out. That's strikeout number 9 for Scherzer. I think it was McNeil initially who was unhappy with Ortega.
No, I don't think so. I think he was just getting up and saying, hey, sorry about that, dude. The throw took me into it. And he's like, you can't block the bag like that. I think that's the conversation they were having.
And you could see McNeil in the background saying, you were out by 20 feet, dude.
What do you want? Get a
Go
better
away.
job.
Here's Suzuki, who's 1 for 2. And a first pitch curveball in for a strike. I think everybody's tempers are a little short right now. It's been a long day of baseball already. Played 11 innings. The first game of the doubleheader. That's lined the other way, and Suzuki's got another opposite field hit. He's been peppering that right side this entire series. A 2-out single for Suzuki, his second hit in this game.
Trying to go up with that fastball, and that's a strength for Suzuki. We said it in his first at bat. Just loves going that way. See, that side swing shows you that he can get on top of that fastball. Looks like he has a natural swing that way.
7 hits now against Scherzer. And here's Nico Hoerner, who's 0 for 2 in this game. And he flies one to shallow right field, and Marte jogs in under it. And that retires the side. A hit and 1 left. 5 in the books in game 2 of the doubleheader. Mets and Cubs tied at 2. Well, the Mets this month 10-5, and look at the bottom if you want to know the biggest reason why. The starting pitching has just been outstanding. All right, Maria, there's the Mets this month, 10-5. And the biggest reason right on the bottom, the starters, 2.47 ERA. 2-2 tonight as we go to the 6th inning. And Mark Canha leads off and check swings 1 foul against Anderson Espinoza. Espinoza came in, got a double play ball to end the 5th.
Home runs up too, Gary. 21 home runs in July. That's a good sign.
Canada's been up twice tonight. Flied out both times against Drew Smyly, who went 4 1/3, allowed 2 runs, 1 earned on 5 hits, a walk, 4 strikeouts, a hit batsman, a home run. And now Espinosa in for what the Cubs hope will be the long term. And Canada takes a fastball inside 1-1. J.D. Davis on deck, and then Eduardo Escobar for the Mets, who trailed 1-0, led 2-1, and now find themselves tied in the 6th inning. And Espinosa picks off the outside corner, and it's 1-2. Well, this is the deepest into the game that David Ross has made it in 3 games in this series. Ejected Thursday, ejected in the first game today. I always thought it was weird that a manager could get ejected in the first game of the doubleheader and be able to come back for the second.
You want him ejected for the day?
It's just weird.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Figure once you're out of here, you're out of here. Come back tomorrow.
He's probably going to be the pilot of this team as it goes through a tough stretch here.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? You never know who's going to get blamed when a team is getting crushed. Inside the count of 3-2. They've lost 8 games in a row now, and their offense has basically disappeared. Coming into today, they scored 4 runs in the last 4 games, so 2 runs tonight against Scherzer. That's a big deal. Full count to Canha. What new? And Mark draws a walk. So Canha, who came into the day in the top 10 in the National League in on-base percentage, draws a walk leading off in the 6th inning. Well, on Geico Sports Night tonight after the game, we'll have everything on the futures game, including Francisco Alvarez and Mark Vientos. Draft tomorrow. McNeil with the All-Star game starting now. And Juan Soto. Trading deadline a couple of weeks away. You can dream. There's J.D. Davis, who's walked and fouled out 0 for 1. And he turns out of the way of an inside fastball, and Gomes is going to run the ball out to Espinosa.
Trade deadline is August 2nd.
Yeah, so that's what, 16 days away?
Yep.
I mean, talk about busy right now. You know, the front office is dealing with the draft.
That's right.
Which starts tomorrow. They've been watching the futures game, which was today. Got the All-Star game coming up, and then you got the trading deadline 2 weeks away. All the while having to deal with the usual stuff, like Dom Smith turning his ankle in the first game today, going for an MRI. The Mets did not put him on the injured list between games, which they could have. J.D. Davis came in the game only because Dom turned his ankle, then wound up making the play of the game in the first game of the doubleheader. That's karma. 1-1 to J.D. with Eduardo Escobar on deck. Eduardo will be sad to see that Drew Smyly's no longer in the game.
Saddest guy in the ballpark right now.
Double and a home run tonight against Smyly. 4 home runs and 12 career at bats. But he'll have to choose a different mark here with Anderson Espinosa on the mound, making just his 3rd big league appearance. And J.D. takes a slider inside. It's 2-1. Cubs get a left-hander up in the bullpen.
Stephen Brault,
That's
right?
Stephen
Who just
Brault,
got
who's
called up.
just called up today. He's been hurt good portion of the year. Good cut by J.D. and he comes up empty. 2-2. Anderson Espinoza, who grew up in Venezuela, a huge Felix Hernandez fan, said he patterned his entire pitching demeanor after King Felix. Strike 3 called. He gets JD looking at a fastball. That's the first strikeout for Espinoza and the first out of the inning. Well, your Spectrum high-speed hitting, Escobar at the top of the list with his home run, a line drive into the seats in left field. That came in the 4th inning. And he's got 2 spots on that list. He's double back in the 2nd. So a good night for Escobar. Now batting left-handed for the first time in this game. 4 for 11 now in this series. He goes after a first pitch fastball, 0-1. Ronnie mentioned Espinoza and the 2 Tommy John surgeries. He was a huge prospect in the Red Sox organization before the elbow trouble started. And he's still young enough that he could be an important piece for the Cubs. Full shift on against Escobar. He's got about 75 feet of the third base line. And he loops this one into center field. That's going to fall for his 3rd hit of the game. Canha pulls in at second. So a bit of the Smiley inspiration rubbing off on his post Smiley at bat. And Escobar's 3 for 3.
I don't think that made it over 100 miles an hour. That one off the end of the bat. 75-mile-an-hour hit off the end of the bat, but he'll take him. And you know, don't discount this, as you see from the side camera. Beautiful top hand coming over. Getting hot right before the All-Star break. You feel good about yourself, and maybe you can start the second half on a high note.
So Escobar, who already has hit for the cycle this year, is now set up for another.
Like Nimmo the other night, got the big one left.
Lots of guys fall a triple shy of the cycle. So 2 aboard for McNeil, who's been hit by a pitch and grounded out in this game, 0 for 1. And he attacks the first pitch and fouls it off, 0-1. Are you following what Matt Carpenter's doing?
I am following. How can you not?
2 home runs tonight. He's got 13 in his first 30 games as a Yankee. That is a record. He broke Kevin Moss's record.
Oh, okay.
Remember when Kevin Moss came up and started hitting home runs every time up?
I feel like it was 87, but I could be wrong.
Glenn Allen Hill also had 12 home runs in his first 30 games, but Carpenter 13 home runs.
It's a bigger story for me because we've seen what Carp has done in his career. He's had an amazing time of it as a Cardinal, but then he lost his way. In the last couple of years, he's been a flat out.
Well, he was in the minor leagues this year with Texas, trying to resurrect his career and going nowhere. Gets in the perfect ballpark at Yankee Stadium. That slap toward third. Wisdom's going to take it to the bag, get the force there, and that's all. That's the 2nd out. As Canha is erased. So 2 out and 2 on. Nido coming up. Final game of the series will be tomorrow afternoon. Mets will have David Peterson on the mound against Adrian Sampson. Coverage begins at 1:30 tomorrow. First pitch at 2:20 right here on SNY. And then we all go to the beach.
Yes.
For a few days. And reconvene Friday at Citi Field for the Mets and the Padres. Here's Nido, who had a base hit his last time up, a single through the hole on the left side. Batting here with 2 out and 2 on. And he takes below the knees for ball 1. There'll be one player active during the All-Star break who's not going to the All-Star game, and that's Jacob deGrom. Tuesday night, or maybe Tuesday morning, Port St. Lucie, simulated game. Slider off the plate, 2-0. And who knows what happens from there. I mean, I don't know if the sim game is enough to get him ramped up to make a big league start, or if he'd need another minor league start after that. And the Mets aren't saying, and I don't think they even know. It's going to be probably up to Jake to decide ultimately.
No, I think it might happen on Tuesday, right? The day of the All-Star game. Well, whatever day it happens, that's not the most important. What's important always, it seems to me, is they wait till the next day. How does the athlete, pitcher feel the day after?
I guess my point is he threw 42 pitches in his second rehab start. Can you get yourself ramped up in terms of the intensity and the emotional quality in addition to the number of pitches? That's hit hard, but right at the third baseman Wisdom in order to be ready for a big league start after that, or do you need another competitive experience? We'll see. 2-2 in the sixth. Home sixth inning, Frank Schwindel leads off against Max Scherzer. Scherzer's allowed 2 runs and 7 hits over the first 5 innings tonight. He's walked 1, struck out 9. An overpowering performance for Max. Schwindel, who doubled and scored in the second, struck out in the fourth, 1 for 2. Patrick Wisdom and Alfonso Rivas to follow.
Max is so good that it's not overpowering when he only gives up 2 runs and strikes out 9.
Right. Well, it's just that so many of the at-bats in the first 2 starts off the injured list were non-competitive.
Yeah, you're right.
Even against that powerful Braves lineup. Cubs have had more of a chance tonight. Schwindel fouls one straight down. Wisdom thinking it out on deck. One-two coming. That's lined. Foul. And twice he's tried to get Schwindel out with changeups in this at bat. Been a feature for Scherzer tonight, even against the right-hand hitters. Again, the 1-2, and Schwindel goes down swinging on the slider, and Scherzer's got his 10th strikeout, the 106th time in his career he's struck out 10 or more.
You know, the one thing he's done on this slider from earlier in the game, it's almost like he's taken a little off the slider. He's not throwing it as hard as he was early in the game, and that not only is beating these Cubs hitters with the break, but also the speed.
So 1 out on the home sixth, and here's Patrick Wisdom. And the Solomonic third baseman takes a swing and miss, 0-1. Wisdom doubled down the left field line and scored a run in the fourth. He's 1 for 2. That was his first hit in this series. And he swings and misses at a high fastball, and it's 0-2. Scherzer's strikeout high this year has been 11. He did that against the Reds in his first start off the injured list. And Wisdom just got a piece to stay in the at bat. pop up, and McNeil called off by Lindor. 2 out. So 2 out and nobody on. The road ahead, presented by your local Tri-State GMC dealers. One more game tomorrow before the All-Star break. And the Mets will be back in action Friday against the Padres, 3-game series against San Diego, and 2 against the Yankees on that next homestand before the Mets go to Miami and Washington. That'll take us into August. 2 out. Here's Alfonso Rivas, who's 1 for 2. And a fastball, and he held in time. 1-0. Alfonso Rivas, who's from Tijuana, but he was born in San Diego in a car. He had family in San Diego. His mom came to the States because she wanted Alfonso to be born here.
Yeah.
They were on their way to the hospital, and then Alfonso arrived in the car. Swing and miss 1 and 2.
Wow.
Grew up in Tijuana until he was in the 4th grade, and then moved to this country full time in San Diego. Went to the University of Arizona, and here he is. 1-2 coming. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. 11 strikeouts for Max Scherzer, matching his season high. Scherzer with a 1-2-3, bottom of the 6th. Keeps this game tied 2-2 going to the 7th. Well, our fan choice poll tonight, we asked which Met did you think was the biggest snub for the All-Star game. Could have gone a lot of different ways, but a plurality chooses Brandon Nimmo, which is what Ronnie said would be the result and what I said would be the result. We both wrote it down secretly, and we just showed each other. Congratulations, Brandon. Now you get to lead off in the 7th in a tie game. Nelson Velasquez takes over in left field. So Rafael Ortega, who fouled the ball off his leg, got medical attention, then tried to steal second and was thrown out by 20 feet, is now out of the game.
It's 2 outfielders missing because Happ got thrown out earlier in the game.
It's not good. Not good. At least the manager's still here.
Yes.
It's the deepest he's gone in a game. Slider in for a strike from Espinoza. Anderson Espinoza's worked an inning and 2/3 in relief. He worked around a walk and a single in the last inning. Nito to line out with 2 men on to end the inning. Now facing the top of the batting order in the 7th.
Interesting to see if Scherzer comes back out for the 7th. Bottom of the order for the Cubs.
Well, Max is at 93 pitches, which is the same number that he threw in his last start in 7 innings. And there's nobody up in the Mets bullpen, so there's your answer. That's grounded down to third. Wisdom gives ground and makes a strong throw and gets Nimmo 1 away. Let's check in with the studio for another game break. Maria Marino's on hand. Maria? Not a great big league debut for Max Meyer. 3rd overall pick in the draft in 2020. He went 5 1/3 for the Marlins, gave up 5 earned runs. Starling Marte takes a slider in the dirt. Marte's 0 for 3, reached on an error on a drop fly ball by Ortega. Not a good game for Ortega.
No.
And now he's in the clubhouse. And Marte gets crowded. 2-0. And the Giants beat the Brewers again after that huge 9th inning comeback against Josh Hader last night. They won 2-1 today behind Alex Cobb. Last night, Mike Yastrzemski hit a walk-off grand slam for the Giants. The first walk-off grand slam for the Giants since Bonds. Not Barry, Bobby.
Wow.
1973. That's a call, strike 3-1.
I faced Bobby Bonds when he was trying to resurrect his career in Columbus with the Yankees.
Really?
Yeah.
He was a Columbus Clipper?
Columbus Clipper.
Trying to ring your bell?
He was.
I'd say takes a hack and comes up empty, and it's 3-2.
You know, when you're a kid and you know about those great players, and then all of a sudden you're playing against them. The two things I remember when Bobby Bonds got in the box: one, how big the bat was that he was using, and two, how big he was. I didn't know Bobby Bonds was that big.
Three-two. And Marte takes inside, ball 4, and the Mets have a 1-out base runner. Second walk given up by Espinosa. There's Bobby, father of Barry, and sometimes gets lost in the shuffle because Barry was so great.
Yeah,
but Bobby was a wonderful player in his own right.
Three-time All-Star when it was almost impossible to be an All-Star in the outfield.
One batting glove.
Not a bolt.
No, too early for the bolt. Here's Lindor, who drove in a run with a ground out in the third, had a base hit in the fifth to extend his hitting streak to 10 games. Marte at first, and Lindor swings and misses at a fastball. And Marte still probably a little cautious on the bases. Second game back from the groin issue that he dealt with for the better part of a week. 10 steals on the year. Don't know if he's inclined to be running right now. Although Thursday night, his first at bat coming back from the groin problem, he got a base hit and then scored from first on a Lindor double. And he might not have been running quite 100% for him, but it was 100% for most human beings. Three on the right side against Lindor, who's now driven in 66 runs this year. 3 more than he had all of last year. And good slider by Espinosa, and it's 1-2. Mets were in a nip and tuck game all afternoon today against the Cubs before winning in 11, and they're in another one tonight. Cubs are trying to snap an 8-game losing streak. 1-2 coming from Espinosa. And Lindor goes down swinging on a high fastball. Foul tipped it into the mitt of Gomes, and he tips his hat. 2 out.
It's almost like Lindor couldn't believe that that foul tip stayed in the glove of Gomes.
You caught that?
Yeah, right.
Dude. So 2 out, and here's Alonso. Pete's gone 0 for 3 in this game. He drove in 4 runs in the first 2 games of the series. And he takes up and in for ball 1. Right side completely open for Pete, with Rivas holding against the runner at first. And Espinosa misses with a sinker, and it's 2-0. Pete drove a double to right center to drive in a run in the first game of this doubleheader. takes a fastball low and in. It's 3-0. Well, you know he's got the green light.
It's a good time to do it too. Pete could turn this wind around.
Wind blowing in from left field. Anderson Espinosa in just his third big league appearance, behind on Alonso, 3-0. And Pete gets a fastball and grounds one to third. Wisdom will have to make a long throw, and it's right on target to retire the side. So Pete swings 3-0, grounds out, and we remain tied at 2 at the 7th inning stretch. Max Scherzer's biggest thorn in his side today has been his former battery mate Yan Gomes, who has 2 run scoring hits in this 2-2 game. An RBI double in the second, an RBI single in the fourth, and now he leads off in the home 7th. And he carves one to shallow right field. Alonso, he made the catch. Oh wow, how'd he do that? Top speed for Alonso, running away from home plate, and he somehow snagged it in that big glove to retire Gomes for the first time tonight. Tremendous play by Pete.
What a play by Big Pete. He read it right away, sprinted to the spot, kept his eye on the baseball so it jams Gomes. He knows it, stays with it, and just threw his glove out at the last second, and the ball found leather.
And he had to reach across his body to get it too.
Just remarkable.
That's a fine play by Pete, and really helps out Scherzer. He finally is able to retire Gomes.
You just don't see. Look at McNeil's reaction. Just don't see first basemen make that play.
2-0 to David Bote. Well, Pete saw the play that J.D. Davis made to help the Mets win a game this afternoon. He figured he had to outdo J.D., who has very few first base games under his belt. And Bote lines one into left field for a base hit. So there's the 8th hit for Bote. Now this was the play that J.D. made. That pick with the potential winning run at third base kept the Mets in the game in the 10th.
Honestly, the pick of the year.
Max Scherzer done for the night after 102 pitches, matching his season high. And he will exit in a 2-2 game after giving up a hit to the number 9 hitter Bote. Max Scherzer matched his season high with 11 strikeouts. It was not the easiest of games for him. Gave up 8 hits and 2 runs so far. He leaves in a 2-2 game. The Mets used their 2 top relievers in game 1 today, Ottavino and Diaz. So it's Colin Holderman who comes on here in the 7th.
You see his Nissan numbers. Pitched 4 days ago in Atlanta, got 4 outs with 2 strikeouts.
Holderman making his 15th big league appearance. Comes in with 1 out and 1 on to face Nelson Velasquez, who's up for the first time. Velasquez came in the last inning when Rafael Ortega left the game after fouling the ball off his leg.
Holderman's your best chance out of that bullpen right now to get a ground ball.
Velasquez had 1 at bat in this series, and that was a strikeout. He waves a slider, 0-1. Top 2 hitters in the Cubs order have left the game tonight, Ortega and Happ. Happ was ejected in the 3rd, and then Ortega leaving because of injury. So you got Velasquez sitting in the 1 spot and Morel behind him. Slider outside, a ball and a strike. Nelson Velasquez, 23-year-old rookie from Puerto Rico. He's had just 58 big league at bats. Cubs have Scott Effross, side-arming right-hander who pitched in Game 1. Up in the bullpen. Bodie with a pretty healthy lead at first. And Velasquez pops one up to shallow right. A long run in for Marte, and he makes the catch. And good base running by Bodie to get back to first. That's a terrific play by Marte, who had a long way to go to get to that pop up for the second out.
Might have been the most pressure he's had to put on that leg to sprint in for that little pop up to right field. But he made the play easily off the bat. Looked like a dead hit.
Second short pop up to right in the inning.
Yeah. And the runner Bodie just stayed halfway. He knows the talent of Marte in right field.
Well, that's a black hole. You can't hit the ball there. Either Alonso's going to catch it or Marte's going to catch it. So 2 out. Here's Morel up for the second time in this game. Struck out against Scherzer in the 5th. Bodie at first with 2 down. And Morel lays off the slider, ball 1. Morel 1 for 7 in this series. Another rookie. A lot of inexperience on this Cubs team. Up and down. Fly ball hit to right center field. Hit pretty well, but Marte should have room onto the warning track to make the catch to retire the side. Morel put a charge into it, but came up a little shy. Holderman gets 2 big outs behind Scherzer to keep this a tie game. 2-2 as we go to the 8th.
In the 7th there, a big moment in the game, but a bigger moment in his life. First time pitching as a major leaguer at Wrigley. Holderman grew up a massive Cubs fan in the Chicago area. Had a ton of friends and family here all weekend. Not all of them, let's put it this way, wearing Mets jerseys when they were out here. But, you know, he said that he's been here for so many big moments. He remembers in 2003, Game 1 of the NLCS. He was 8 years old. He was here for Sammy Sosa's game-tying home run, 2 outs in the 9th inning. It was always his dream to pitch at Wrigley Field for the Cubs, but Holderman said that that dream has quickly switched to pitching at Wrigley Field and beating the Cubs.
It's nice when those dreams come true, isn't it? It's great for Colin. Marcano will lead off in the 8th inning. Scott Effross, the side-arming righty, got 1 out in the first game of the doubleheader today and back out for more. Canna's 0 for 2 and a walk in this game.
You have to watch out what you wish for, because I always wanted to play a game in Fenway Park. And the first time I did that was in Game 4 of the World Series.
Canna, Davis, and Escobar for the Mets in the 8th in a tie game. Ronnie, I want you to know there's been a recount.
Okay.
An official recount has been conducted, and after toting up all of the numbers, there are the numbers on Effross. Turns out that Max Scherzer's 11 strikeouts tonight, were the 108th time in his career he struck out 10 or more. And that has a little history because the 108 ties him with Pedro Martinez for the 4th most all time.
Congratulations. Anytime you tie the great Pedro in anything, you've done something.
I mean, he's never going to catch Nolan Ryan or Randy Johnson. They're so far ahead of the world in that category. On the outside corner, Canna's caught looking on that sidearm fastball from Effross for the first out.
Effross appeared in the first game, came in to get a big out, got Pete Alonso on a ground out. Canna doesn't think that's a strike.
So now he's 2 behind Roger Clemens. Scherzer is for 3rd on that list, and well, that's as high as you're going to get. And that's really good enough. He certainly was not at his overpowering best tonight, and yet he still struck out 11. J.D. Davis taking a strike. JD has walked, fouled out, and struck out in this game. 0 for 2, hitless in his last 12 at bats. And he takes a fastball in the corner, and it's 0 2. Most pitchers, after their inning is done, they're down the tunnel, they're getting their arm iced. Not Max. He's sticking around.
It's like there's 2 Maxes. It's the one who's possessed, who pitches in the game, and then as soon as he's out of the game, there's an exorcism that happens on the bench at some point, and he is the friendly Max.
He's the great teammate.
The great teammate Max.
Fastball's a little high, and it's 2 2.
Efros is going to pitch in about 80 games. Sitting right on that back leg, drops down, and that sidearm delivery gets a little more push off than most guys who throw sidearm.
And he throws one by J.D. Davis. So back-to-back strikeouts for Efros. 2 out in the 8th.
Well, you just don't see these kind of pitchers very often. They just always it's cruel to some of these hitters. They just cannot pick up the release point. And that's what makes guys like Efros and Tyler Rogers so valuable.
Well, this will be the first left-hand batter he's faced today, as he faces Escobar, who needs a triple for his 2nd cycle of the year. Double down the left field line in the 2nd. Hit a line drive home run into the seats in left in the 4th, and then blooped the base hit into center field in the 6th. The place to hit a triple if you're a left-hand batter in this ballpark is the right field corner, but there are about 7 defenders on that side of the field. So it seems. Got that deep well in right field. It ducks away to 355 feet. I mean, look at the array of defense guarding against the triple. Efros quickly ahead on Escobar 0 2. And Eduardo fouls one back. If I remember correctly, in San Diego, he got the triple last, right?
Yes, he did.
Got the homer in the 8th and the triple in the 9th.
And that was down the right field line. It was, you know, they have that little box that juts out, and it kind of took a bad hop out there.
Kicked away from the right fielder. To Escobar. Jeff McNeil would be next. Fouls off that fastball from Efros. No question the left-hand hitters get a little better look.
Yeah. You know, Gary, before you were talking about Matt Carpenter, and then you brought up Kevin Moss and his great run. I said I thought it was 87. It was 1990. Joel Sherman reminded me. He was on the beat then.
I was just looking at the numbers on Efros. You know what lefties are hitting against him? 143. Wouldn't think that, right? Side-arming right-hander. And he gets Escobar with the high fastball, and Effross strikes out the side in the top of the 8th. To the bottom of the 8th we go, still tied at 2. Go behind the scenes with Keith during his number retirement ceremony. Keith 17, presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers, Sunday at 6 p.m. only on SNY. See what they did there with the 1-7?
I do see.
Very nice. Great art. Colin Holderman got 2 outs in the 7th, stays on for the bottom of the 8th in a 2-2 game. Seiya Suzuki leads off and takes fastball inside. Suzuki had 2 opposite field hits against Scherzer today. 5 hits and 11 at bats in this series. And Suzuki takes a fastball for a strike, 1-1. Suzuki was out with a finger injury for the better part of a month, and in 11 games since coming back, he's been scalding it, hitting well over 300. And he hits one right back to Holderman, who picks it out of the air for the out. Athletic play by Holderman to get Suzuki 1 away.
Well, when his follow through, it brings him right towards the first base, and that's where the ball was going, and he just stuck out the glove and it went right in. So Pete's play to right field, Holderman back up the middle. The Mets are flashing the leather.
Gloves are everywhere. 1 out now. Nico Horner, who's 0 for 3. As Steve described, you got Holderman, the Illinois native, getting to pitch on the Wrigley Field mound for the first time and doing it in a big spot. Tie game in the 8th. Horner pops one foul. Nito gives a look, but that'll be out of play. 1-1. Scherzer went 6 1/3, allowed 2 runs, 8 hits, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts. Max threw 102 pitches, a season high. His ERA through 11 starts now is 2.22. And in his 3 starts since coming off the injured list, in 19 1/3 innings, he has struck out 31.
And walked 1.
Warner's 0 for 3 in this game, 2 for 9 in this series. And he swings and misses at the slider from Holderman, and Horner's down on strikes. First strikeout for Holderman, who's retired 4 in a row. When we are done here, it's PointsBet post-game live. Gary Apple, Jerry Blevins will have all the interviews, the highlights, the analysis, all the stuff you need. PointsBet post-game live right after the game, right after every game, right here on SNY. Here's Frank Schwindel, who doubled and scored the first Cubs run in the 2nd. And he fouls off a fastball, a 97 from Holderman.
Pumped up.
You think?
Yes. Wow. What a feeling it must be.
He's being asked to get 5 outs if he can. Chopped down to first. Nice stop by Alonso, and the toss to Holderman for the out. Pete makes another fine play. 5 up and 5 down for Holderman, sending us on to the 9th. With the Mets and Cubs tied at 2. Let's take a look at live odds presented by PointsBet. Ninth inning, Stephen Brault, the former Pirate, makes his Cubs debut, just called up today.
Well, he was signed in March to a major league contract. Found out he had an injury. Time is called out in the field as the baseball is in short left field there. Velasquez will go on and get it. No. He'll be one of the supervisors for attendance. And then they switched it to a minor league contract, and he's finally worked his way all the way back to the big leagues.
He had a lat injury last year that curtailed his season with the Pirates. He's been a starter for a good portion of his career. Makes his Cubs debut as a reliever in the 9th inning of a 2-2 game. Jeff McNeil, first man up against him. Jeff is 0 for 2. He's been hit by a pitch. And takes the first pitch slider for a strike, 0-1. Well, while Brault is getting the 9th inning for the Pirates, Yohan Lopez, who the Mets brought up as the 27th man, is up in the bullpen for New York. This is what day-night doubleheaders will do. And McNeil takes the pitch low, and it's 1-1. Tomas Nido on deck, and then Brandon Nimmo, and there's Lopez, who has done some work for the Mets earlier this year. He has been involved in some stuff. Neal grounds one on the right side. Bodie gets in front of him. 1 out. The offense has been at the minimum for both sides today. Mets had just 2 runs and 4 hits in the first game of the doubleheader. They have just 2 runs and 6 hits in the nightcap. Well, Colin Holderman has to be awfully happy about his Wrigley Field debut. 5 up and 5 down. Like a dream come true. Here's Nido, who's hit 2 balls hard today. A base hit in the 4th inning, and he lined out to the 3rd baseman to end the 6th inning. Also had a chance in the 2nd inning with the bases loaded and 2 out and flied out. Stepping on, stepping off, stepping on, stepping off. And Nido swings through the fastball, and it's 0-2.
Brault looks a little different than he did in his Pittsburgh days. He's got the beginnings, well, hopefully it's the beginnings of a mustache.
Mustaches are coming back. Grounded on the left side. Wisdom ranging wide. And he throws out Nido. 2 out. I mean, just look at Matt Carpenter. Look what the mustache has done for him.
Mustache power? Is that what you're saying?
Just saying that, you know, everything comes back around.
Should we grow one in the booth so we're like Heath?
No.
Oh, geez, that was quick.
I mean, you're on your own, but I've been there and done that.
I honestly can't grow a mustache. It looks like a mustache after about 3 days. And it never changes from that stage.
Well, here's Nimmo with 2 out and nobody on. Brandon singled and scored back in the 3rd. And he bounces one for the shortstop Horner to handle. And it's a 1-2-3 9th inning Cubs debut for Steven Brault. We go to the bottom of the 9th in a 2-2 game. The city of the big shoulders, Carl Sandburg called it. It's a beautiful town, especially in the summertime. Brutal here in the winter. Yohan Lopez has pitched in only 4 games for the Mets, but he's been around long enough that he's already been suspended once after the dust-up with the Cardinals earlier this year.
Throwing at Arenado, but got a lot of street cred points with his teammates.
And he comes in here into a 2-2 game in the bottom of the 9th. With Ottavino and Diaz and Drew Smith and Seth Lugo all having pitched in the first game of the doubleheader today. And right now Lopez just trying to get this game to the 10th inning. That's 1 in 11 innings in the first game of the doubleheader. And Buck Showalter trying to figure out how to piece together this one after Scherzer goes 6 1/3. Holderman gets 5 outs. And now it's Lopez in the bottom of the 9th. Lopez was brought up today to be the 27th man. The Cubs have already used their 27th man. Espinosa went 2 2/3 and was successful. Patrick Wisdom leads off in the bottom of the 9th for Chicago and swings and misses at a fastball, 0-1. Wisdom had a double back in the 4th and scored a run. He's 1 for 3 in this game. Alfonso Rivas and Yan Gomes to follow.
Lopez might be the 27th man, but he's got a big arm.
Parts of 4 seasons in Arizona before coming to the Mets. And he throws a nasty changeup, and it's 0-2.
Always have a fondness for anyone who wears this number, 44. It's my first in the major leagues.
It's a hitter's number.
It is a hitter's number, but what are you going to say? Just happy to have a number.
I mean, that's Hank Aaron's number. It's Willie McCovey's number.
That's right.
1 and 2 to Wisdom.
Reggie Jackson.
See, and I always think of Reggie as number 9.
Yeah.
That's what he wore in Oakland.
That's right.
1-2 coming to Wisdom. Struck him out. Lopez gets Wisdom with a slider on the foul tip for the first out.
Just kind of a backup slider that fooled Wisdom.
So 1 out and nobody on. And now Alfonso Rivas, 1 for 3 in this game. Met pitchers have struck out 13 in this game. That's been the operative number lately. All 3 games in Atlanta, Met pitchers struck out 13. First game of the doubleheader today, Met pitchers struck out 13. And in this game, Met pitchers have struck out 13. Scherzer got the first 11. Holderman had 1, and now Lopez has fanned his first batter.
The Mets starting pitchers do not have triskaidekaphobia.
One and 1 to Rivas with the bases empty and 1 out. And that one sits high. 2 balls and a strike. Joe Walter says sometimes you have to put your faith in who you've got. And who he's got is Yoan Lopez to try and get him to the 10th. That's a fastball for a strike. Good looking pitch, 2-2.
Well, if he's able to get through this inning with not many pitches, he might be asked to go another one if it continues.
I mean, I don't know who's next.
Yeah.
I mean, Trevor Williams went 3 innings on Thursday. I'm not sure you can go back to him. 2-2 coming. Hit on the ground. Alonso gets in front of it. Lopez over to cover. And Rivas retired, 2 down. That's 8 in a row retired by 7 in a row retired by the Mets bullpen. And now 2 out and nobody on for Yan Gomes, who's had the big game for Chicago. A single, a double, 2 RBIs, and last time up tried to dump a base hit into right field, and Alonso made a spectacular play to rob him. They still have Joely Rodriguez. They still have Tommy Hunter in that bullpen. Gomes takes down for ball 1. I'm assuming that Brault goes back to the mound for the 10th.
Yes.
If we get there for the Cubs. And so we'll have their big hitters coming up the 10th if they can get it there, and they'll have Nimmo as the free runner with Marte, Lindor, and Alonso coming up. But first, Lopez needs to get the 3rd out in the 9th. And Gomes takes a fastball high, and it's 2-0. Gomes has 3 home runs this year. With 14 last year between stints in Washington and Oakland. Mets have already been beaten once this year on, or twice this year on home runs by backup catchers, right? Nick Fortes in Miami, Jason Castro.
That's right.
At Citi Field.
Citi Field.
Well, you know he's going to have the green light here. 2 out and nobody on. And Gomes takes ball 4. And so it's a 2-out walk. It's only the second walk given up by Met pitchers today. So now the potential winning run at first with 2 out with David Bote coming up. Keep in mind that David Ross has already used half his bench because Ian Happ was ejected in the 3rd, and Rafael Ortega left because of apparent injury in the 7th. So it's Bote batting for himself. He's 1 for 3. Had a base hit his last time up. And first pitch slider in for a strike, 0-1. You got Gomes at first, who's not a fast runner.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about him running. You got to concentrate on Bote, who's got some power.
Bote's hit 1 home run this year, 8 last year. He's just getting his season started, coming off shoulder surgery. He's only been active for a couple of weeks. And the Cards went foul, and it's 0-2. You know, the Mets have their big hitters coming up if we go to the 10th. Marte, Lindor, and Alonso. Oh-2 coming to Bote. And it's bounced down to 3rd. Escobar behind the bag makes the long throw low and scooped out by Alonso. Just like J.D. Davis did it. Alonso makes the play at first. And for the 2nd time today, we're going to extra innings. Escobar knows he can bounce anything.
Let me hear you. A 1, a 2, a 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back, 'cause it's root for the. If they don't win, it's a shame, for it's at the old ball game. Let's get some runs and end this thing. Come on, Chicago. Let's go, Cubbies.
To T-Mobile coverage cam, Vince Vaughn and kids at the 7th inning stretch. Michael Givens in to pitch the 10th. Nimmo the free runner. Marte trying to bunt for a hit and comes up empty, 0-1. Givens was the losing pitcher in game 1, pitched the 11th inning, gave up a hit to Lindor and a sac fly to Alonso. And now he's pitching the 10th inning in game 2.
36 games now for the veteran Givens.
Pitched for a long time for Buck Showalter in Baltimore. Marte takes a swing and a miss at a slider, and it's 0-2. Stephen Brault and Scott Effross each worked a 1-2-3 inning. And now Givens given another extra inning. Last time a doubleheader at Wrigley. Both games went extra innings. June of 1986. That's lined and one hop knocked down by Wisdom. He scrambles after it. Throw too late. Now breaking for 3rd is Nimmo, and he makes it safely. Great base running by Nimmo. A mistake by Wisdom. He had no chance to throw out Marte once that ball rolled away from him. And Nimmo breaking for 3rd on the throw, and the Mets have runners at the corners with nobody out.
Too good of an 0-2 pitch there from Givens. It was a nice play by Wisdom to just keep it in front of him. Ball hit with a lot of topspin, kept it in front of him. But here the play was to fake the throw to first and get Nimmo in a rundown. So Nimmo stays. And as soon as the throw goes, he takes off.
Once he picked that ball up, he had to put it in his pocket.
Yep.
So now 1st and 3rd, nobody out. The infield comes in for Lindor. Francisco takes low and away for ball one.
Well, what happens is once he tries the backhand here, like a goalie, kept it in front of him. And when he went to make that throw, Nimmo could come because he had to sprint all the way back to third to try to get that throw.
You also got to know the speed of Marte. Yep. There goes Marte stealing second. The throw to second base is not in time. So Marte steals the bag, and now the Mets have two in scoring position. So we were wondering earlier whether Marte had the wherewithal coming off the groin injury to steal a base. He picks up his 11th of the year.
Well, the Mets getting aggressive here in the 10th inning, and I like it. I've always felt when you're on the road, you try to score 2 or more, and the jump is huge. Gibbons takes a long time to deliver ball to the plate. Marte had that pretty easily.
So now Lindor with a chance to drive in a couple with a base hit. Infield is in. Nimmo at third, Marte at second, both with great speed. Alonso waiting on deck, so they have to pitch to Lindor. Francisco's 1 for 4 in this game, drove in a run with a third inning groundout. Mets are 8-1 in extra innings after winning earlier today in 11. Cubs are 3-10. Lindor had a base hit against Givens in the 11th inning this afternoon, and he takes outside. It's 2-0. And now they're going to put Lindor on and pitch to Alonso with the bases loaded. How about that? So giving the Mets an extra base runner and getting Alonso to the plate with the bases loaded and nobody out. And it's not like, well, maybe you can play the infield back at double play depth and concede 1 run. And maybe that's the way you play it.
That is the way you play it.
As we've talked about so often in these extra inning games, as the home team, if you can limit the visitors to 1 run, you've pretty much done your job. So that's going to be the goal here for the Cubs, to try and get a ground ball from Alonso and try to turn 2. Well, you got the Mets' 3 best base runners aboard. Nimmo at third, Marte at second, Lindor at first. Alonso's 0 for 4 in this game. He's driven in 4 runs already in this series. He fouls back a first pitch fastball. Alonso drove in the game-winning run with a sacrifice fly against Givens in the 11th inning of Game 1. That chased home Guillorme with the lead run. Wearing his Keith-inspired stirrups.
Interesting visit by Gomes with the veteran Givens.
Alonso has a home run in 3 career at-bats against Givens. Alonso, career in extra innings, is hitting .368 with 3 home runs. And he fouls that one away on a slider from Givens, and now it's 0-2.
He had a pitch to hit there.
Marcana on deck.
I think Givens would feature a slider off the plate here, try to get Pete to fish.
0-2 coming. And that hit him, and that forces in the lead run. How about that? On an 0-2 pitch, Alonso is hit to force in the go-ahead run, and it's 3-2 New York.
So 0-2 pitch to Marte, scalded to third base. Marte gets on. Nimmo takes the extra base. The walk to Lindor. Now an 0-2 pitch to Pete, trying to go upstairs and just catches the elbow pad. Pete didn't move an inch.
And I think that was upsetting to Givens, who felt as though Pete made no effort to get out of the way.
He's got to make a better pitch. 0-2.
5th RBI in the series for Alonso, and it gives the Mets the lead in the 10th, and now a chance for a whole lot more with Cano, with the bases still loaded and nobody out. And that one's hit right back to the mound. Givens throws home. Gomes down to first for the 1-2-3 double play. Well, that was everything the Cubs could have hoped for after giving up the run. The comebacker from Canha on the first pitch, and Givens goosed it home, but still was able to start the 1-2-3 double play.
That's a good call right there. He wasn't comfortable throwing that ball home. Shocks him with the one hopper back at him, and he kind of just flipped it in there, which made it a more difficult play for Gomes, but still, that strong arm got the second out.
So now you got Davis coming up, Escobar behind him, second and third and 2 out. And again, the Cubs would count this inning as a success if they're able to give up just the one run. Now, Luis Guillorme is going to bat for J.D. Davis, which gives the Mets 2 left-hand hitters in a row in this spot.
This is really a scouting report by Tommy Hotovy to his pitcher, Givens.
Well, you got the lefty Norris up in the bullpen, but he's not coming in to face Guillorme. And then you've got Escobar, who's a better right-hand hitter than left.
Yep.
So you wouldn't want to bring the lefty in to face him. But you do have McNeil behind Escobar.
It's a good matchup for Guillorme. Most of the pitches will be away from Givens. He's got that tailing fastball because he throws from the side.
So now Lindor is at third, Alonso at second with 2 down. A run home. The Mets lead 3-2 in the 10th. Diaz not available. So the Mets are going to have to get through the bottom of the ninth, and now they're going to make the pitching change. Now wait a second, he just made a trip to the mound. Is he allowed to make a second trip without a pitch being thrown?
I never thought, unless that's one of the rules that
Buck I think is calling the crew chief Marvin Hudson over to ask. I'm not sure if this is a legal pitching change or not. He made a trip to the mound, he went back to the dugout, and then he went out again without a pitch being thrown. And Buck is looking for an interpretation from Marvin Hudson as to whether this is allowable. Norris is coming into the game to face Guillorme, who was announced as a pinch hitter. Is it because the announcement was made in between that they're allowed to make the change?
I'm not sure.
Well, they'll try and sort this out. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Nissan. We'll come right back to Chicago. For the Cubs, and apparently it was a legitimate substitution. After Guillorme was announced as the pinch hitter, Marvin Hudson went down into the tunnel. I don't know who he was talking to, but apparently he allowed the pitching change. So second and third and 2 out. Guillorme the batter, and he bounces one in there on the first pitch, and Gomes able to knock it down with the chest protector to save a run.
This is a hard move to make here because of Norris. 20 walks in 29 2/3 innings. He's wild. Great stop by Gomes.
First base is open, so he's got a little breathing room with Guillorme. You've got Escobar, though, the switch hitter on deck. So this is the guy that Ross wants Norris to go after. And the slider misses up and in. It's 2-0. That's up a run home in the 10th. Infield hit by Marte. Nimmo advancing. And the run coming home on a hit by pitch with the bases loaded. And that slider caught the corner. Borderline pitch. 2-1. Lindor is at third. Alonso at second. And Guillorme takes low and away, and now it's 3-1. A walk would fill the bases and bring up Escobar. Givens faced 4 batters, gave up a single, an intentional walk, a hit by pitch, but then got the comebacker for the double play from Canha to give the Cubs a path through this inning with just 1 run scored. And Guillorme lays off ball 4, and that loads him up for Escobar. So a big at bat coming up for Escobar, trying to expand on this 1-run lead in the 10th. He's already got a single, double, and home run in this game. Lindor at third, Alonso at second, Guillorme at first with 2 out. And Escobar takes the first slider low and in for ball 1. So Norris, as Ronnie said, really having trouble throwing strikes. And the pitching coach Tommy Hotovy is going to go to the mound to see if he can coax some strikes out of his left hand.
Has set a record here for visits to the mound by pitching coach and manager.
Well, the manager made 2 visits without a pitch being thrown. And now Hotovy's out there after 1 batter plus 1 pitch.
Well, he's got 21 walks in 29 2/3 innings, so obviously he's been wild all year. So what's your expectation?
There's nobody up in the Mets bullpen, so it would appear as though Yohan Lopez, who pitched a hitless 9th, is going to pitch the 10th, and you would love to give him some breathing room. They're going to have Bodie as the free runner, and then Velasquez, Morel, and Suzuki at the top of the order due up. And Escobar hoping to give Lopez more than a 1-run lead to work with. Bases loaded, 2 out. 1-0 to Escobar. And Eduardo moves his feet, and Gomes stops that, but now it's 2-0. And Norris isn't even coming close to the strike zone with most of these pitches.
I mean, at some point you're going to have to mix in a fastball. All of these sliders non-competitive.
Now Norris behind Escobar, 2-0. A pickoff try at second. He throws it into center field. Lindor comes home to score. And the Mets have a 2-run lead. It's 4-2. Norris throwing wildly to the plate. Tries a pickoff at second, and he throws wildly there. And on the error, the Mets get the 2nd run of the inning. Holy smokes.
I mean, to ask the pitcher in this kind of situation to pick off Alonso at second base, bad call.
Now it runs at second and third, and Escobar takes a strike, 2-1. So the Mets in this inning have gotten an infield hit, a stolen base, an intentional walk, a hit batsman with the bases loaded, a 1-2-3 double play, a walk, and then an errant pickoff throw for another run. Crazy. Good cut by Escobar, and he fouls back the slider, and it's 2-2. Yeah. Tough being a Cub fan right now. They're in danger of losing their 9th in a row. That is a huge, huge run.
That's why you don't try to pick off Alonso at second.
Alonso now at third, Guillorme at second. 2-2 the count to Escobar. Jeff McNeil would be next. Two coming, and Escobar takes low and in. Didn't miss by much. Change up from Norris, and it's 3-2. Daniel Norris, at one time a prize prospect in Toronto, went to Detroit. Last year moved to Milwaukee. He's had a rough go of it since coming to the Cubs this year. ERA just under 7. 3-2 to Escobar, and Eduardo pulls one down to third. Wisdom on the backhand makes the throw on target. The inning comes to an end, but the Mets scratch out 2 unearned runs, and they take a 2-run lead into the bottom of the 10th, trying to sweep a doubleheader. Fans either sad or tired. It's been a long day.
How about both?
They've lost 1 game in extra innings already, and in danger of losing a second. Waiting for the whole thing to end. Cubs in danger of losing their 9th straight game. Mets trying to make it 4 straight wins and win their first series at Wrigley Field since 2013 in the regular season. Yohan Lopez, who threw the 9th inning, working around a walk, now pitcher of record on the long side and trying to finish it off.
And instead of having Ortega and Happ up, the Cubs have Velasquez and Morel because of the Happ getting thrown out and Ortega's injury.
Bodie is the free runner at second. And Velasquez takes a first pitch slider for a strike. The last time the Mets played 2 extra inning games in a doubleheader with 9-inning game schedule, so take out the last 2 years, was 1983 against the Pirates. So this is a rare event. And a slider on the corner, and it's 0-2 to Velasquez, who had his first at bat in this game in the 9th and flied out. Travis Jankowski has taken over for Mark Canha in left field for defense. Christopher Morel on deck, Seiya Suzuki behind him. And Velasquez tried to hold. He went around, strike 3. Lopez with a strikeout to start the bottom of the 10th. And the Cubs wanted the home plate umpire John Tumpane to ask for help at first base, but Tumpane called it himself. And David Ross, screeching, might be in danger of getting thrown out for the 3rd time in 3 games in this series.
Get some help is the cleanest parts of what's coming from the bench. There are some home plate umpires that like to call it themselves. There's others that like to get help.
Here's Christopher Morel, who came in after Happ was ejected, arguing balls and strikes in the 3rd. He struck out, and then he flied out to the warning track in right field his last time up. And Morel has some power. He's got 9 home runs in his rookie season. Tying run at the plate in a 4-2 game. And Morel fouls it away, and it's 1-1. Seiya Suzuki is on deck. It's been a frustrating 3 games for the Cubs and a frustrating season overall for David Ross, who's managed to stick around for all of this one so far. Swing and a miss, a big cut by Morel on a fastball, and it's 1-2.
Well, I've been impressed with the Mets. They've had young pitchers come in and have to pitch late in the games. Adonis Medina earlier this year. Yohan Lopez now as the 27th man has to get 6 outs.
Colin Holderman 5 up and 5 down in his stint today. 1-2 to Morel. And the slider just missed. 2-2. Jack Suwinski, who just got sent to the minors today by the Pirates, leads National League rookies in home runs. That's a kick in the pants, right?
Right.
He was hitting 198 with the 14 home runs when he got sent down. 2-2 coming. Popped it up on the right side, headed toward the seats, and out of play. Well, quite a day in extra innings for Pete Alonso. He drove in the go-ahead run in the first game with the sac fly in the 11th. He drove in the go-ahead run, getting hit by a pitch with the bases loaded in the 10th inning in the nightcap.
Where's that get him to? 77, right?
Anyway. 2-2 coming to Morel. And that's off the corner. 3-2. Big deep breath for the rookie. Three-2 from Lopez. Hit up the middle. That's a base hit for Morel. They'll wave Bodie around third. He comes in to score, and the Met lead is cut to 4-3. So the Cubs have the tying run aboard. Christopher Morel comes through with an RBI single, and the Cubs are not dead yet.
Well, he got the count to 3-2. Kind of figured he was going to get a fastball from Lopez. jumped all over it, found a hole up the middle, almost fell down in the box. And now you got some speed at first base as well with the Cubs down a run. And that was a gimme there because Nimmo's got to throw the ball to second base. Had his balance on the swing, and the youngster, you love to see that enthusiasm.
Lopez checking it on Morel, who stole a base in extra innings in the first game today. He's got 8 stolen bases on the year. Well, they got their 2 best hitters up, Suzuki and then Horner, with the tying run at first base. Suzuki's got 2 hits in this game, and the last time up he had a line drive that Holderman was able to catch on the mound. Suzuki 5 hits and 12 at bats in this series. Good speed at first in Morel, good speed at the plate in Suzuki, and he takes a slider that just missed. Ball 1. Lopez has been awfully close with some pitches just off the outside corner with that slider in this inning. Buck Showalter sticking with Lopez. He still has Tommy Hunter and Joely Rodriguez, but who knows, maybe they're not available. That's line toward the middle, past the glove of McNeil and into center field. Morel trying to go first to third. Nimmo's throw is cut off. The tying run is at third base. Suzuki with his 3rd hit of the game, and the potential winning run is on first with 1 out. Twice in a row, Cub hitters going back up the middle. McNeil almost got to that ball, but it was just hit too hard. And Jeremy Hefner out to talk to Yohan Lopez.
Suzuki going up the middle here, and Gary, you can't play the shift on him if you've been watching this series. He's hit a lot of balls to right field. So on the right side of second base was McNeil. And this kid can run great long strides.
So now the Cubs trying to fight back in the 10th. They have a run in. They have 1st and 3rd and 1 out after back-to-back hits by Morel and Suzuki. And it would appear as though Buck is going the distance with Yohan Lopez. There's nobody up in the Mets bullpen.
Going to win it, tie it, or lose it with Yohan on the mound.
So now you got Nico Horner at the plate, and the Mets are going to play their infield in. I guess this is a consequence of having nobody left in the bullpen. And Horner takes a slider outside for ball 1 because you just can't afford to have a tie game.
That's right. So no one in the bullpen. Horner's got good speed as well.
So the Mets are playing to win it or lose it here. McNeil shrugging his shoulders at second, saying, why are we playing the infield in? There goes the runner from first, and Suzuki steals second. So now the potential winning run is in scoring position.
Now you got to pitch accordingly if you're going to put him on first base.
Behind 2-0, Horner a much better hitter than Schwindel, who's on deck, and you set up the double play possibility against Schwindel, who hits a lot of ground balls.
Good thought by Buck. The right thing to do. Now you push your infield defense back up the middle, I'm sure. 2 up the middle, 2 up the middle. Third base, first base, you're coming home.
Lindor is still not convinced. He wants a conversation before they set up the defense. Lindor calling this meeting at the mound. Frank Schwindel will be coming to the plate with the bases loaded and 2 out. Mets with a 1-run lead in the bottom of the 10th.
But Lindor was taken care of there, Gary, is making sure that Lopez let the third base umpire know that if he's pitching from the stretch or pitching out of the windup.
Morel with outstanding speed is the tying run at third. Suzuki with excellent speed is the winning run at second. Bases loaded, 1 out. The infield halfway at second and short. And Schwindel lays off the first pitch slider. 1-0. It's at a 2-run lead coming into the inning. Lopez struck out Velasquez, but back-to-back hits by Morel and Suzuki have put the Cubs in position. And Schwindel swings and misses at the slider. And it's 1-1.
Big swing there by Schwindel.
If you're Schwindel, you at least have to get the tying run home. Trying to hit that ball in the air. 1-1 from Lopez. And that's knocked down by Nido. And that chases Morel back to third. 2-1.
Another breaking ball. Good stop by Nido. Catches it right in the chest protector. Got to make a pitch with your slider here. And you're hoping that Schwindel tries to pull it.
Patrick Wisdom would be next. 2-1 to Schwindel. And he slices one foul, and it's 2-2.
Went with a fastball there, 97 from Lopez.
Well, you know he's going to try and get him out with the slider.
Yes. Strikeout, pop up, comebacker, double play ball. Those are your options.
Cubs turn a 1-2-3 double play in the top of the inning. 2-2 coming to Schwindel. And he fouls it away, reaching for the slider.
So Schwindel's approach right there, Gary, with 2 strikes, a little different than earlier in the count. Looks like he's trying to cover and put a 2-strike approach on it.
Schwindel doubled and scored back in the second. Struck out twice and grounded out. 1 for 4 on the day. Morel the tying run at third. Suzuki the potential winning run at second. Again, the 2-2 coming from Lopez. And it's low and away, ball 3. And now Lopez has taken it to the brink. Buck Showalter trying to win a game without his top relievers. Yohan Lopez trying to scuffle his way through a second inning. He's got a 3-2 pitch to make to Schwindel with the bases loaded. And he just got a piece of that slider to stay in the at-bat.
What a pitch and what a foul ball by Schwindel. It was a pitcher's pitch by Lopez, and somehow he got a piece of it. Good hitting.
Fly ball could tie it. Besa could win it. Double play could end it. 3-2 to Schwindel. On the ground to third. Stepped on third. Escobar to first. Double play and the ball game is over. The Mets sweep a doubleheader. 2 extra inning wins. Escobar makes the play for the 5-5-3 double play. Yohan Lopez gets the win. And the Mets have taken the first 3 of the series from the Cubs, playing right on the edge all day long today. They win at 11 in the afternoon. They take it at 10 in the night, and they win 4-3. And the Mets right now are living right. Without his best relievers, Buck Showalter found his way through in extra innings. Yohan Lopez gets the ground ball from Schwindel for the game-ending double play, and the Mets win it 4-3 in 10.
How about the defensive plays that Escobar has made in the extra innings in these 2 ball games? Just remarkable. And for the young Lopez to stick his nose in there and throw one more strike with a slider to get that ground ball and get rewarded for it. What a interesting 2 games here on this Saturday.
Buck and the Mets stole one in this nightcap.
Yes, they did.
There's just no 2 ways about it. Daniel Norris throwing away a pickoff throw in the top of the inning to play what proved to be the difference in the game. And the last play of the game, Escobar, who made a big play in extra innings in game 1, makes the play in game 2 to end it. And Yohan Lopez gets the win, and the Mets, for the first time since 2013, win a series at Wrigley Field.
How about this kid called up to be the 27th man, gets 6 outs and a big league win. Just remarkable. Remarkable.
Mets move to a season high 24 games over 500. Huge game for Escobar. A single, a double, a home run, and the game-ending play. Yeah. Roar. Roar like lions. Mets have won 4 straight, taking the first 3 of this series as they win 2 extra inning games in a single day as they beat the Cubs in 10 in the nightcap 4-3. Crazy.